So clean, true indeed. Bringing you up to speed with some conversation. Bringing you up to speed with some conversation. Let's get to the content, man. Shout out to Cat Six, man, for sending me those videos. You already know. Yeah, man. Yeah. Show some love. Tap on in with your boy. Yeah. Man, we here. Steven Crowder, man. You guys see the title, man. Steven Crowder is a white conservative, right? And a lot of these conservatives love talking about issues in the black community, crime, and single mother led homes and things of that nature. But it's mighty funny that Steven Crowder never talks about the things that affects the white community in a negative way, right? Like you got a lot of Nazis in the white community. They never admit that, but they exist, right? See, the media loves to highlight street gangs in Chicago, Los Angeles, and wherever else you can find gang culture. They love to highlight stuff like that in the media. But what they don't talk about is these Nazis and these white supremacist gangs that exist in the white community. And most of the crimes those people commit, they're not even reported. They don't even report on those crimes like that, which is crazy, but I think we know why. We understand the agenda. Let's get it. Frank McClure, man. Yeah. Then I seen Anton Daniels on his show. Somebody criticized him. He said he's an equal opportunity smoke giver. No, he's not. Anton Daniels don't hold white folks accountable to the same level that he holds blacks accountable. He'll say something here and there to make it seem like he's balanced, but he's not. Let me tell you guys something. What I notice about YouTube, you don't get paid to be fair and balanced. People don't want to hear fair and balanced content. You either gonna be on this side or this side. Don't nobody want to hear no fair. Don't nobody want to hear no fair and balanced content. Do you think people listen to Steven Crowder because he's fair and balanced? No. He's a white man, he's a white conservative, and we already know how white conservatives talk about the black community. So that's what they pay him for. Anton Daniels is a black conservative. Black conservatives get paid to demonize their own people. Now, I get it. Sometimes you do got to hold black people accountable. I am not against holding black folks accountable. I am not. My thing is this. This is where you got to draw the line. See, this is the thing. People accuse me of bashing black women. They say that I go in on black women too hard, right? But at the same time, I do talk about white people. I do talk about gang culture. I do talk about the things that affects black men in a negative way. But one thing I notice is this: people don't respect balance. Like now, if I made content talking bad about black women all day, we would get way more viewers. We would get way more supporters, right? You know, or if I made content talking about white supremacists, and if I made content talking about immigrants, tethers, and white supremacists, and that's all I talked about, I would get way more support from the FBA community if I just talked about that and never held black people accountable. Right? Steven Crowder is a Republican, a white conservative. White conservatives don't want to see Steven Crowder holding white folks accountable. They don't want that. That's not what they want. They don't pay Steven Crowder to hold a white. They don't pay Steven Crowder to hold a white community accountable. They don't do that. So what I'm saying is, you don't make a lot of money being fair and balanced. People don't want balance. You got people out there who want to hear negative things about women every day. And if I made content like that, I would get way more support from the red pill community. If I talked about tethers, immigrants, and white supremacists and never held black people accountable, I would get way more support from the FBA community. The moral of the story is nobody wants to hear fair and balanced content. They just don't. That's not how people make their money on social media. That's a fact. Anyway, man, let's get into this content. Shout out to the Renegade.
My son said, well, Daddy, you know what, maybe he's in a real hurry. We should let him go. That was a different interaction. That kid kept doing it to every other and it wasn't the only one. And you know why? Because I've taught my kid, hey, you're going to have people who look different from you, and it doesn't matter, you treat them well. That kid wasn't. And I'm telling you, along with the empirical, anecdotally, if you have a young white person who has these interactions on a regular basis, and I'd be lying to you if I said they were uncommon, while being told they need to shut up because of systemic discrimination, you're gonna create a generation of racists.
I get it.
But that child was poorly parented too.
I agree. I run all the time.
Hey, Steve, that child was poorly
I
parented.
just got it, street media. Shout out to street media. Now let's talk about the hypocrisy from not only Steven Crowder, but from the white community and from black conservatives. We're gonna break this down.
There's no way in the world
Dad,
his mother shouldn't have intervened with his the first time.
No, the dad did nothing, Steve.
The dad wasn't
There was no dad. That's to say that
Mom, no dad.
No, I say because it's not a race thing. The dad, him and I looked at him like, dude, I get it, right? We're both tired. But here, this kid, I don't know, maybe the dad wasn't there. His mom didn't, and he shoved my son out of the way 3
But
times.
poor parenting though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm
we
saying.
run into this all the time.
That's what I was about to say. It's poor parenting everywhere, and that creates individuals that grow up.
I'm gonna show you guys a lot of videos of crimes and these are crimes that took place recently. You don't hear Steven Crowder talking about none of these videos, none of these crimes. And I'm gonna show you these videos, but I wanted to give you guys a snippet of this clip right here from Steven Crowder having a conversation with these black men at a barbershop.
Be grown up individuals, and some of those individuals end up getting positions of power.
Well, see, can I drop one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Actually, because I like the thing about choices. And you were talking about the federal
By
department.
the way, the whitest
I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, like there's a couple things. You said you ended up in and so you don't have to worry about things that people in South
No, I said I've been afforded some things.
afforded.
Yeah.
Why? How are you afforded that? You just happen to land
No,
here.
I sacrificed some things to live in.
Correct.
Right.
You made good choices.
I made choices. I
And when
made
we talked
choices.
about when we talk about educational standards.
But I
why-
also had opportunities available
Sure,
to me too
sure.
that some people didn't have.
Of course, everyone has a different
Right.
lot for sure.
Right.
Sure.
But you were talking about educational standards. Why is it that the Asian kid does 3 times to 4 times as much homework than the black kid, and the white kid does 2
Conditioning.
to 3? Why?
Because it's culturally, it's conditioned.
Exactly.
So why is it
That's what
better
I'm saying.
parenting from Asians than white
And then we
parents?
come-
Why?
You said what?
Why is there better parenting? What he's trying to say is, you said bad parenting.
Well, I said
so why is there better
culturally-
parenting from
culturally
Asians
teaching-
and white parents?
Yeah,
Correct.
culturally, the educational mindset, culturally, when
it all comes back
among
to
Asians,
choice.
they're taught from young
Yes.
that's primary.
Sure.
Over anything else, entertainment,
Also obeying the law.
how you dress, none of that matters.
And it's
Up here matters.
right,
Yeah,
and they're
I
also
agree.
about 3 to
Right.
4 times more likely to have a father in the household than a black.
That too. That too.
Why is this disproportionately affecting this one community? Because
He's not talking about, see, this is the thing. They're talking about they're talking about the outcome of the black community, but they're not talking about the cause and the negative effect. The cause is systemic racism, right? Black people, go back to the 50s. We had the highest rates of marriage, if not the highest, one of the highest rates of marriage. You know, when you think about all races in this country, black people were they were at the top when it comes to 2-parent households. This is in the 50s, this is in the 40s, and going into the early 60s, prior to the civil rights movement, prior to women becoming feminists, prior to them becoming independent. Programs and systems destroy black progress in this country, but these white guys will never talk about that, right? They don't want to talk about the cause and the effect. They only want to talk about the outcome. They only want to point at what's going on now. But that's not how you play the game. You got to go to the beginning and see what's the cause and what's the effect. Look at the system. black people, the government has always targeted blacks in this country, right? And I'm not speaking from a position of victimhood. I'm just giving you the reality when it comes to the history of this country. Don't get mad at the messenger. I'm just being honest about the system and how the system has had a negative effect on black folks and our progress in this country. Asians ain't never been enslaved in this country. Asians ain't never went through Jim Crow. The government has never oppressed Asian people like they've made several attempts to oppress the black community. So let's talk about that. But they never want to talk about the cause and the effect, because if they was to talk about the cause and effect, then we would have to hold white folks accountable. And white people are trying their best to avoid accountability, especially when you think about how they targeted the black community. The CIA, the government dismantled the Black Panther Party because they hated black unity. They destroyed Black Wall Street because they didn't want black people to build generational wealth. They destroyed Wilmington, North Carolina for the same reason. They destroyed Ocoee, Florida for the same reason. They destroyed Elaine, Arkansas for the same reason. The government has went out of their way to destroy black communities and black progress, to stop us from passing down generational wealth. Wells Fargo and a lot of these companies that exist today, a lot of these banks that exist today, they got wealthy from slave money. So that money was passed down from generation to generation, and that alone has kept wealth in the white community. Black labor equals white wealth in this country. Study the history of Wells Fargo, and you will see how they got their money. They got wealthy from the slave trade. A lot of these corporations and companies that's ran by white people got wealthy from slavery, but they're not going to tell you that. They never want to talk about the cause and the effect. They only want to point out the outcome, because they're not being honest.
I have a question, because I actually have, like, my uncle, my aunt's married to a black dude, one of the most accomplishment of all time. Helicopter pilot, National Park Ranger, served his country, has a Ferrari in the driveway, right? He wears, crew socks, so we can forgive him for some things. But my whole life I've had this great black role model in my life. But then I try to ask questions, and I have a hard time asking him because I don't want to upset that relationship.
You're being responsible with your work.
So I want to ask now,
It doesn't help that you look like you're in the Third Reich.
I'm not even going to take the hat off. But then if you talk about there's no power. Well, we were talking about Charlotte, and you said the black activist judge. Well, in Charlotte,
Right. All this stuff was you think about white people who own these sports teams, these banks. Where you think they got the money from? White people will never admit that. They'll try to convince you that none of these companies and corporations profit from slave money. They'll make it seem like they never got wealthy from slave money. That's what white people are going to say in their defense to gaslight you. But the reality of it is this, man. Slavery built America's economy. White people got wealthy off of our labor, and they passed down generational wealth. Now, what they're going to say is, well, all white people ain't rich. No, we know that. What I'm saying is, the people who control the wealth in this country, they got wealthy from slave money. So, of course, you can't make every white person rich. But when you think about the white people who do have power, the white people who are wealthy, a lot of them got wealthy through slave money. Whites was able to pass down generational wealth from the labor they got out, from the labor that they got from us. I mean, from the labor that we did in this country. That's how they got wealthy. If you say that to a white person, they're going to do everything in their power to gaslight you, to make it seem like these people didn't get wealthy from slavery. That's what they're going to say to gaslight you. Well, actually, did it? No. We know how America's wealth was built. Stop it. Listen, this is how you break all of it. This is how you break this stuff down. Look at America prior to the slave trade. America wasn't even established prior to the slave trade. America was nothing prior to the transatlantic slave trade. It was nothing here. There was no foundation prior to the transatlantic slave trade. There was no foundation in this country. Slavery built America's economy. That's a fact, homie. Prior to slavery in this country, America was nothing. America wasn't even established prior to that. That's all you need to know to understand that whites got wealthy. For the whites who are wealthy, a lot of those people inherited money from slavery, the slave master. And listen, let's say I'm a white man that got wealthy from slavery and I start a corporation and a company. I start a big time corporation and big time companies. Most of the people that I'm gonna hire is white people. So even if a white person's family didn't own slaves, they were still able to work for those companies who did get rich from slavery. So the money that they made from slavery, those corporations and companies hired majority white people. And when you look at the people, I'm not talking about the employees. Well, you can talk about the employees, but when you look at the people who are big time executives and big time names in those corporations and companies, those are white people. So the money that they got from slavery put other white people in positions of power. So they could easily say, my family, it didn't matter. A lot of you guys were still able to go work for those corporations and companies who did benefit from slavery, who did profit from slavery. And as a result of that, a lot of you guys became CEOs, executives. They became big dogs in these corporations and companies. So white people was able to pass down that wealth. And what did that do? That put more white people in positions of power, even if they didn't benefit from slavery directly. If they can work for this corporations and company, it's the same thing. Because slavery gave other whites opportunities to work for these big time corporations and companies. That's all I'm saying.
It's not just the black activist judge, it's the DA that's black that instituted those policies. It's a black mayor. So could we at least agree, before the civil rights movement and now, do blacks have more or less institutional power?
There's been some bad and some good that came
We have
along
less
with the civil
institutional
rights
power,
movement.
but you know,
Before the civil rights
but you know what we don't have?
we're
As
more.
a community, we don't have the unity.
Well, here's the problem we have.
So the last thing I want to ask,
I want to ask you a question before you.
The government destroyed black unity in the 60s. Every time blacks would organize and put something together, the government went out of their way to destroy that progress. They labeled the Black Panthers a terrorist group when that was the furthest thing from the truth. How come the Ku Klux Klan exists and the Nazis still exist, but the Black Panthers don't exist? I'm not talking about this new Black Panther Party. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not trying to down them. There's a good reason, and listen, homies, there's good reason for this. The government dismantled the Black Panther Party, but the Ku Klux Klan has been around for centuries. They still exist. Nazis, skinheads, and white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, they still exist. The government ain't never shut that down. They ain't shutting none of those white supremacist groups down. But the Black Panthers, they had to shut that down immediately. So what does that tell you? The government played a major role in killing black unity. Matter of fact, the government destroyed black unity single-handedly. Study your history. You got to take my word for it.
It kind of all throws together, and I'll just let you go.
Okay, go ahead.
Why was the black community one of the fastest growing economic demographics in the country? Why were there tons of fathers in the household? Black people were becoming great role models and integrating into society naturally. And now it's substantially worse
You know why it's
than
worse?
it was before Martin Luther King.
You know why it's worse?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that and I'm gonna say this openly because I can't get into the specifics, but I work for an entity that I was flabbergasted to learn this. All right, and what we do is we provide Medicaid, right? And this is a former campaign I worked on, and I was awestruck when I would have white females that would call, and they would call on behalf of their entire family, which included the husband, right? So many people say, well, you know, the welfare queen is having more children because she gets more food stamps. Well, here's how it really works, and I can tell you this from firsthand knowledge, right? Let's say I've got a household of a wife and a husband, and I've
Make sure that you guys bless the like button. It ain't nothing.
got 4 kids. That household can earn up to $6,900, right? And here's what happens. Even if the husband is in the household, many times they're self-employed. So, of course, you can skew the numbers any way you want. And you and your family will continue to get full health care. A black mother is always told if there's a man in the house, number one, then it's a no-go, okay? Look at the Section 8 Housing Authority. Now, here's what happened, and you want to know what happened, what caused
I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, what caused the problem in Black America. What caused the problem in Black America is the fact that when the father became absent in the home, right? When he became absent in the home, it left the mothers to bear the brunt. So to answer your question, do we have more influence in some areas? Perhaps, but ask yourself this.
I think they could have did a better job at showing white people that they played a role in black dysfunction. The government played a role in, the government destroyed unity in the black community single-handedly. You know, J. Edgar Hoover, You know, let's get into it. The FBI.
Do we have more influence economically? Because if you go back and you look, prior to the civil rights movement, let me tell you something right now. You had more black carpenters and tradesmen all over the place.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, that's right. But the problem is, again, if you agree with that, then you'll agree with the fact that if it had not been for the change in the systemic dynamics, that black men would still be in the home or have it,
Right.
and the
So
black
it's
family would
almost
still
like
be doing it.
federal government policy has not been instituted to help black people ever, but really to make them dependents of the state when they were doing just damn fine without the federal government that you want in more people's lives.
The only reason why
Well, we that's what I just said. The government played a role in this stuff, right? So that's systemic racism. So you can't say, how come this? You already know that the government played a role in that. The government did it single-handedly. That's systemic racism. That's white supremacy. Let's just call it what it is.
It's almost like reparations would be the same thing.
My question to that is, why is that a problem for white America? And we were already...
Because it's one country.
Because it's what?
We are one country, and the problems of one
We're
community...
not one country. We're an entity. We're a corporation. The United States is a corporation. It's not a country.
It certainly is. And with that attitude, we can never be a country. If that's the attitude that people have.
Because it's not a country. It was never...
See, my thing is this: white people ain't never went through anything in this country. They never went through anything, right? They've never been enslaved. They never had to operate under Jim Crow laws. They never been lynched. They never had their communities burned down by a bunch of black men with robes and masks on, and the government allowed them to do it. You know, whites have never went through anything in this country. Blacks ain't never created laws to oppress white folks in this country, but white folks have created laws to oppress us. So how can a group of people that's never went through anything tell us how we should move, and they've never been affected by any of this stuff? You know what I mean? How you gonna tell somebody that's went through something? What they gonna say? Well, you didn't go through it personally. Yes, we did, because guess what? What happened 50 years ago still affects us now. It's kind of like when you do things as a teenager, it's gonna affect you as an adult. So it's the same thing when you think about this country. What took place 70 years ago still has a negative effect of what goes on today. Think about Black Wall Street. A lot of that wealth could have been passed down to start our own professional teams, to create more banks, to create more black wealth. So you can't say Black Wall Street happened this many years ago and it doesn't have an effect on what's going on now. That's nonsense. Because if white people, I ain't gonna say if, white people was able to pass down generational wealth from the slave trade, from our free labor, and as a result of that, you got J.P. Morgan, you got Wells Fargo, and a lot of these places, they got wealthy from slave money. Black people ain't, listen, we was never in a position to well, I ain't gonna say never, because we was once we created our own communities, but that is why the government destroyed Black Wall Street, because they biggest fear that this was their biggest fear. They said, hold on, if Black Wall Street spreads, there's gonna be more, excuse me, there's gonna be more Black Wall Streets popping up all across the country. Eventually, blacks will get wealthy. They'll pass down generational wealth. Blacks already have more kids than us. So if blacks are becoming wealthy and successful and they're passing down generational wealth and they're having more kids than us, eventually blacks will take over the country. That's why they put Planned Parenthood in black communities, drugs in black communities, destroy Black Wall Streets, dismantle the Black Panthers. That's systemic racism. And white folks did it out of fear. They said, hold on, man, these Negroes are building up. And guess what? Wilmington, North Carolina, Black Wall Street, they built those communities without reparations, with no handouts from the government. So if blacks are building these communities with no reparations and no handouts from the government, eventually this mentality will spread across the country. Pretty soon we're going to have Black Wall Streets all across this country. And that was the white man's biggest fear, because we're getting wealthy, passing down generational wealth, and we're having more babies than them. Our population is growing faster than them. That was their biggest fear, and that is why they destroyed Black Progress. That is why they demonized the Black Panther Party. That is why they sabotaged Black Wall Street, Wilmington, North Carolina, and many other communities just like that. But these white folks will never tell you the truth. Why? Because they don't want to hold their people accountable for what they did.
It's written in the Constitution. It's a corporation.
That is
not a
definitely
country.
not written in the.
That is not written in the Constitution. That's just not true.
It's not a country. So what I'm saying is, when we were black people in our own communities thriving, like you said, doing our own thing, why was that a problem for white America? We were doing our own thing. Why?
That's a good question. Why was that? Well, we know why it was a problem to white America, because we're having more babies in them. And then eventually you're going to have more Black Wall Street. So white people sabotage that progress. The government sabotaged our progress. But Steven Crowder is not going to talk about that. He's not going to talk about that. He knows exactly why the government destroyed the Black Panthers and Black Wall Street, because white people feared our progress. We was having more babies in them. Our population was growing faster. Black people having a lot of babies. And listen, black people promoting unity and having more babies than whites did in this country. That was the white man's biggest fear. They're overpopulating us, and they're spreading black unity, and they're passing down generational wealth. We got to stop this. Oh my God, we got to sabotage this, because if we don't, blacks gonna mess around and take over this country. And that was the white man's biggest fear. But Steven Crowder will never admit that.
Why did y'all come and burn down Wall Street, Black Wall Street? We had our thing going. Why is it an issue when we have our own thing going and we're minding our business? White America comes in and figure out a reason to, oh, that's wrong. Y'all are doing something wrong. That's not by the code.
Don't just mention Black Wall Street. Mention Ocoee, Florida. Wilmington, North Carolina. Elaine, Arkansas. There were other communities and towns similar to Black Wall Street where blacks were building wealth. Blacks were independent. They didn't depend on the government. And whites, the government came and sabotaged that. And those blacks back then, listen, those black people wasn't gangbangers. They wasn't criminal. They wasn't gangbangers, criminals, or thugs. They minded their business, took care of their families. And we had unity in those communities, but the government sabotaged it. The government destroyed it. But that's something that you're never going to hear Steven Crowder or any one of these white Republicans or white conservatives. They're never going to admit that. They're going to gaslight you and pretend like it's not true, as if you're so dumb that you don't understand history. Make sure that you guys bless the like button. And oh yeah, man, bless the cat, bless the super chat, man. Let's get some people to bless the super chat and the cash out. We're dropping game today. Just come on through with it.
No one here is trying to justify clear racist policies of the past or racism of the past. Of course that existed. No one was arguing that.
Here's the thing.
We're not arguing.
Okay, that still has a negative effect today, because white people, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and places like that, they was able to pass down wealth. And based on that money, they created more corporations and companies, and it made white people more wealthy in this country. So he said, well, of course that happened. Okay, what happened 100 years ago still has a negative effect today. Let me give you an example. Imagine if Black Wall Street was never sabotaged. Black Wall Street would have created more opportunities for blacks across the country. We could have invested in our own NBA. We could have invested in our own NFL. We could have way more banks than we have now. We could have black hospitals, more black communities, more corporations, and more companies. Those are the opportunities that Black Wall Street would have created. White people saw the bigger picture. You know what they said? They said 100 years from now, blacks are going to be in this position. We must put a stop to this now. And that's exactly what the government did.
I'm just one thing. It sounds like you're saying that you would want racial segregation, because you're saying
What worse than segregation? We asked for equality. We didn't get that.
But you're saying your own community doing your own thing.
Do our own thing.
Are you saying that we should be separate communities? That's what I'm asking. Are you saying we should be separate white and black communities? That's what it sounds like a little bit.
Separation may be the answer.
Okay. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, separation could be the answer.
But if a white person says that, is it racist?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I don't think we should.
You notice that these white boys never talk about systemic racism and how that still has a negative effect on the black community today. Because like I said, if Black Wall Street was never sabotaged, Black Wall Street would have created way more opportunities. They would have created more corporations and more companies. And blacks would have been in a position to fund everything that they wanted to do. White people saw the bigger picture. They said, hold on, 100 years from now, if we allow Black Wall Street to live and thrive, 100 years from now, black folks going to be in a powerful position in this country, and we must do everything in our power to put a stop to that. And that's exactly what the government did, man.
But if you're saying it in a narrative that we're are a threat to you guys, so that's why we want to be separate.
Motivation for white
But you
people.
just said that white people are a threat to black people. That's what you just said. So why can't white people say it? And I don't think separation is the answer.
I didn't say that. I said
I don't think so.
you guys. I said you guys.
Blacks are not blacks ain't never did anything to stop white people's progress. Never. We never created systems. We never created laws to stop white people's progress in this country. It's never happened. But if you look at the things that whites have done to stop our progress, man, there's so many things that they've done to stop our progress. It is ridiculous. Come on, homie. Let's be real.
You guys find a problem with everything that we do.
If separation is the answer,
Yeah, but reparations, come on with it.
So who gets the reparations?
The whole black community,
American descendants of slavery.
the people that have been wrong for so many years.
All right, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you some crimes that a lot of these. I'm gonna play like one more minute of this, man, and then we're gonna get into some white fatigue. You know, crimes committed by white guys, right? That's what we're gonna get into. Let's get it.
America.
The government that's taking from us.
Hey, Ukraine. We ain't got I ain't never personally asked
You don't have to tell me twice.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like, why are we paying that?
Right, so the
I agree with you.
federal
How about we pay none of it and let people make their own decision?
hiring black people, the money would just go back to reparations.
Since we are.
See, they'll never admit the negative effect that systemic racism has had on the black community and our progress in this country. They'll never admit that. What whites are going to say, oh, well, that happened 100 years ago. It doesn't matter now. It doesn't have a negative effect on the black community now. That's what whites are going to say to gaslight you. When we all know, if you plant a seed 100 years from now, and you know, the people will get the fruits of that labor, and that will benefit that community in a major way. So we can't say what happened 100 years ago doesn't have a negative effect on what's going on today. They're gaslighting you at that point. Because if white people was able to pass down generational wealth from 100 and 200 years ago, and you still have those corporations and companies today that whites benefit from, how could you fix your mouth to say that, well, Black Wall Street and this happened 100 years ago, it has no effect on what's going on today? That's nonsense, because white people still benefit from the generational wealth that they was able to pass down 100 years ago. We didn't have the opportunity to pass wealth down from 100 years ago. Why? Because we were still in Jim Crow. We were still dealing with, we still had to deal with systemic racism. So imagine if we was able to pass down generational wealth from 100 years ago. But whites will try to convince you that it has no effect on what's going on today because they think you're stupid.
To answer the question of who should pay,
Yeah.
the federal government should be on the hook for some of that.
I mean, just imagine if Black Wall Street and none of those black communities, if they never got destroyed, man, there was black banks, there were black hospitals, there were black schools, there were black everything. Look at all that money they would have generated, and look at the money that they could have passed down from generation to generation if Black Wall Street and Ocoee, Florida, and places like that was never sabotaged by the American government, the United States, right? So check out what I'm saying. So if those communities were never destroyed, right, look at the progress we would have made. That would have created more corporations, more companies. You would have seen more Black Wall Streets pop up throughout the country. You would have seen black unity spread. You would have seen more black businesses, you know, and that's just the reality of it. But for you to say that, well, never mind the fact that the government destroyed it, that doesn't have an effect on the black community today. No, it does not. Man, please. You're dumb for thinking that we're dumb. We see the picture real clear, buddy. It's clear as looking out of the damn window.
Every single company that benefited from chattel slavery, all the insurance companies, all the freight companies, all of those companies that existed then, that still exist now in some name.
I'm glad he said that, and I never watched this video. I promise you, I didn't watch this video. I played it, and this is my first time looking at it. I'm glad that he brought that up.
The federal government should be on the hook for some of that. But every single company that benefited from chattel slavery, all the insurance companies, all the freight companies, all of those companies that existed then, that still exist now in some name, shape, or form, they should have to pay into that because they all profited for it. Just think about this.
Yep.
You insured a slave. When you bought a slave, you got insurance on that slave. That insurance company made money off of that. And they built up into
What percentage of the workforce in the United States do you think were actually slaves here in this country?
See, now he's going to try to break down this. I would have dismantled his argument. Don't matter, Steven Crowder, because all those corporations and companies that we're talking about that benefited from slavery, they still hire white people and put other white people in positions of power. So don't never let them try to say, well, my family didn't own any slaves. Yes, but white people were still able to work for those companies that did benefit from slavery. So at the end of the day, you still benefit from it because those companies wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the money that they got from slavery. And what they did is they hired a lot of people. They hired a lot of white people to work for those corporations and companies, and they kept the wealth in the hands of white people from generation to generation. Let's say you're a white boy who grew up in the Deep South and your family didn't own no slaves. Guess what? The people who did benefit from slaves, the people who did benefit from slavery, the white folks who did get wealthy from slavery, they hired white people like you to come work for their corporations and companies. So the white people, even if their families never owned slaves, they still benefit because those corporations and companies who did profit from slavery, what did they do? They hired white people and put a lot of white people in positions of power at those corporations and companies.
That might.
I don't know what the percentage was, but I know all.
We pay none of it. Let people make their own decision.
Hiring black people, the money would just go back to reparations. That's the system.
To answer the question of who should pay,
Yeah.
the federal government should be on the hook for some of that. But every single company that benefited from chattel slavery, all the insurance companies, all the freight companies, all of those companies that existed then, that still exist now in some name, shape, or form, they should have to pay into that because they all profited for it. Just think about this.
Yep.
You insured a slave. When you bought a slave, you got insurance on that slave. That insurance company made money off of that. And they built up into
What percentage of the workforce in the United States do you think were actually slaves here in this country? Because that might.
I don't know what the percentage was, but I know all the hard work. I know who did all the hard work.
No.
I know
You know
who did
what?
that. I
You
know
just said
who
the
worked
railroads.
7
You just said the railroads. Why aren't the Chinese immigrants asking for reparations?
Because they've already been gifted what they were going to give.
You did what?
We did it for them.
You did it full?
For them.
No, the Chinese built the railroads.
Basically, he's saying if Chinese people didn't get paid for the railroads, blacks don't deserve to get paid for 400 years of free labor and going through Jim Crow for 100 years. See, white boys, they look for any excuse to say this is why we shouldn't pay black people reparations. Well, the Chinese didn't get paid, and guess what? But y'all didn't sabotage Chinese communities. You didn't burn down their churches. You didn't enslave them. You didn't put them under Jim Crow laws for 100 years. So Chinese people never had to go through what black folks went through in this country. I reject your deposit. You living in a fantasy. Come back to reality, Stephen. Chinese people ain't went through none of the stuff that black folks went through in this country. How dare you try to compare Chinese to foundational black Americans?
Chinese were slaves. They built the railroads.
We did that for them.
No. The Chinese were the majority of the slaves building railroads.
Now, on
They
the
didn't get
railroad,
reparations. They don't want it.
Well, I tell you what. Next time we'll have you a Chinese dude in here so you can ask him that. I don't give I'm talking about black people.
Can you guys deal with the
I'm talking
straight
about
hair?
black people.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's another misconception that we get all the time.
All right, you seen that, man. Let's go to the next clip. Yeah, they look for any excuse. Chinese ain't went through what we went through in this country. You can't even compare what Chinese people went through. You can't even compare what they went through. You can't compare what they went through. You can't compare that to what we went through. It's not even a real comparison. It's crazy that you would even try to compare that.
3 people are dead. 2 others have been shot.
Let's get into some of these white crimes, man. Shout out to Desmond Hill. We got to get some people to start supporting the show, man, because we kind of light on that support here, man. For some reason, we only got one person who blessed the Cash App, and that's Desmond Hill. Shout out to Desmond Hill. We kind of light on the support though, man. Let's get him up.
In what an East Texas neighborhood says was a family dispute. Thank you for joining us. It all started around 2:30 this morning on Taos Drive in the Cedar Creek Cove subdivision. That's where the Henderson County Sheriff says 29-year-old Christopher Kyle Reed Jr. shot 5 people, killing 3 of them. And they're not the only ones injured in all of this. KLTV 7's Trent Bennett joins us in the studio with what we know so far here at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, Gianni, the Henderson County Sheriff's Office not going into much detail regarding the identities of the victims that you mentioned or a motive. Tonight we know that a man and a woman died at the scene in Maybank. Another died at a hospital, and 2 other men are in the hospital tonight with gunshot gunshot-related wounds. The folks on Taos Drive in the Cedar Creek Grove subdivision and family that I spoke with off camera just hours ago say the shooting that started all of this centers around this home.
I keep to myself. I stay in my house. And this is why.
Cheryl Noble says she was doing just that when at 3 this morning, a man she had never seen before came knocking on her door claiming he had been shot by a relative.
All I know is he came over here pounding on the door, said he'd been shot by his brother.
Noble says without knowing what to do, she dialed 911 and pointed deputies in the right direction.
I mean, I was unnerved, you know. I didn't know what was going on. Brother could have come over here and shot us.
The Henderson County Sheriff's Office has confirmed the suspect to be 29-year-old Christopher Kyle Reed Jr. Deputies wouldn't confirm, however, whether or not Reed fired a gun at his family, just next door to where the shooting allegedly took place.
I didn't think that they would do that.
Richard Matthews is circling the home, where crime scene tape has now come down. He says he knows the family well, having lived next to them for 40-plus years. Matthews says he's come to terms that he will never see them again.
That's what I was told.
Following the shooting, a separate scene 37 miles west in Ennis at this Buc-ee's, where Ennis police say Reed Jr. crashed into the storefront, hurting another woman. Before shooting himself inside the vehicle, you can see inside the front doors to that convenience store. For friends and family who didn't want to go on camera, they see the scene that played out on this road will continue to haunt them.
I don't think anybody will be there ever again in that house.
The woman who was hurt at the Buc-ee's in Ennis, we're told, is expected to be okay. Now, the last time we spoke to deputies on the scene in Maybank, all they would tell us is that the suspect had a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
So listen, man, I'm gonna be showing you more crimes of white fatigue, man, and we're gonna talk about a lot of this stuff. White fatigue, man. Let's get it. And Steven Crowder never talks about these crimes, man. He just won't talk about it.
Breaking news.
And that breaking news is here.
And you got people like Anton Dane. So I'm an equal opportunity smoke giver. No, you're not. You can show several videos of white people committing crimes, degenerate behavior. There's countless videos of white men and white people engaging in criminal activity. And when he does talk about white people, he never makes the connection of white culture. He talks about the white person as an individual. Anton Daniels is not an equal opportunity smoke giver. He's a bold-faced liar. Check out this white man right here. Look at the heinous crime that he committed. Check this out. Shout out to SR Surum for the 20 on the Cash App. Shout out to Desmond Hill for the 10. You dig?
News starts now with breaking news.
And that breaking news is here. Bryan Kohberger has been sentenced to life in prison for murdering 4 University of Idaho students. The judge handed down 4 consecutive life sentences for the murders plus 10 years for burglary. And thank you for joining us this midday. We are live on ABC 30, Hulu Live, and wherever you stream. I'm Jason Oliveira.
And I'm Graciela Moreno. Bryan Kohberger pleaded guilty earlier this month as part of a deal which spared him the death penalty. Now, during the sentencing, the families of the victims had the chance to confront the admitted killer.
ABC's Alex Stone is in Idaho with the emotional statements made by family members.
Nearly 3 years after the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, and Madison Mogen, today, for the first time, their families are getting a chance to speak directly to Bryan Kohberger before he heads to prison for the rest of his life. In victim impact statements are families and friends telling Kohberger how the murders impacted them.
Since Maddie's loss, there's emptiness in our hearts, home, and family. An endless void.
Kohberger looking straight ahead as each person spoke, including Dylan Mortensen, a surviving roommate who told police she saw a man dressed in black that night.
Because of him, 4 beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason.
3 weeks ago, 30-year-old Kohberger abruptly decided to plead guilty in order to avoid the death penalty, ending years of claims of innocence. The former criminology student confessing to the murders.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes. Today's hearing comes as ABC News has obtained this video showing Kohberger's family visiting him in jail on the eve of his sentencing. But Kohberger still has not revealed the motive for the murders. While he does have a right to speak at the sentencing hearing, he does not have to explain the motive.
The judge can compel Koberger to admit his guilt. He also can ask him additional questions if the judge feels as though it's warranted. We know that the family is looking for a lot of answers, such as motive and other things. Those are not typically things that they will find out at this type of hearing.
In Boise, Idaho, Alex Stone, ABC 30, Action News.
See, these crimes committed by white guys. I got more. Trust and believe. I got more, man. This is I got more. Let's get it. No, y'all like the sight of that. I know you like the sight of that right there. Yes, sir.
Accused of shooting up a New Hampshire country club while a wedding was underway will be in court today. This is Hunter Nadeau. He'll be
Now, he shot up a club right here, right? You know, they say black people only do this, man. But listen, these are violent white criminals. Make sure that you guys show some love to the show and bless the super chat. Leave some comments and bless the super chat. Let's get this channel on the algorithm, man.
The man accused of shooting up a New Hampshire country club while a wedding was underway will be in court today. This is Hunter Nadeau. He'll be arraigned on a murder charge. He is accused of killing one guest and hurting several others as the bride and groom were about to start their first dance. Nadeau is a former employee of the club. The state's attorney general revealing he allegedly made a number of statements during the shooting, including "The children are safe and free Palestine." The victim is a 59-year-old man, Robert Stephen DeCesar. His mother telling NBC Boston that he died protecting his family. Joining us now, retired NYPD detective David Sarney. He's also an adjunct professor at John Jay College.
So we're going to talk about white fatigue, and we're going to get back to the Steven Crowder thing, man. But I want to show you all these crimes that white guys commit. Steven Crowder, white conservatives and black conservatives, they ignore crimes that are committed by white guys. And when they do talk about it, they make it seem like it was just an isolated. They make it seem like it was an isolated incident, and it's not a reflection of white culture. Anytime a black person commits a crime, the first thing they do is say, well, this is the problem with black culture. They make the connection to black culture. They don't talk about the guy as an individual. No, this has something to do with black culture. White man commits a violent crime. He was mentally challenged. He was mentally ill. This is no reflection of the white community. This is no reflection of white culture. That's how they gaslight you.
Situation for all involved, all of these people there to celebrate a wedding. How quickly will they be able to rule out investigatively if this was a targeted attack at someone at the wedding or just a former employee who had gone awry?
Well, apparently, and thank you for having me, apparently that what we're hearing, at least we think of, is since he worked there might have been a target to that location. He was there for about a year. There was a situation that he had familiarity with the location. He had no familiarity with the family or the event going on. So, you know, these statements he made could be red herrings. We're not really, that really sure yet. They're still going to investigate again. They do a deep dive into his social media, into his cell phone, any type of activity he's had. That's the one thing they're going to look at. But right now, it's a senseless killing for apparently right now no reason.
Yeah. Take us inside the investigation and the evidence gathering. What's happening at the club as police put together, what happened, a motive, and how to proceed?
Well, you're going to do the crime scene will be inside the location, inside the hall, recovering any evidence, shell casings and the like. He had to find a way to get there. Apparently, there was a vehicle removed from the location, which might have.
See, they know they can't dispute these crimes, especially when we had the receipts to prove everything that we're saying. We had the receipts to back up what we're saying, right? But what they're going to say is, well, blacks are only 13%, so we have to talk about crimes per capita. That's what they're going to say in order to deflect the fact that whites commit a whole lot of crime in this country themselves. So their way of defeating that argument, they're going to come with the per capita argument. Well, blacks are only 13% and you're doing 50+% of crimes. That's what they're going to try to use to say that somehow that we're 13%, but we're committing 50+% of most violent crimes in this country. Of all violent crimes in this country, blacks commit over 50% of those, but we're only 13% of the population. That's the argument that they're going to come with.
The vehicle he tried to leave the location from, that you're going to have that whole area secured until you make sure everything you've covered is anything that's left, any evidence left behind is obtained. So it may take some time for this area to be cleared out.
You know, we think about large events, you know, the Charlie Kirk shooting, that school does a threat assessment. Schools and churches and concerts, all of these groups, businesses do threat assessments to prevent these types of things from happening. A wedding, David, is something, you know, I guess in my mind, you wouldn't think you'd have to do something like that for. But do you believe that just any large event where people gather, that should be in their minds?
I'm hoping not. I mean, this event there's apparently no connection between the shooter and the event, just the shooter and the location. So, you know, these are things you'd be concerned about. But reality is, you can't live in this sense of fear. You're going to live your lives. You're going to go to these events and the like. You're just going to do the best you can and maintain your day. This is just a tragic event for an individual who decided this is the day I'm going to shoot somebody, either for a reason inside the location or for anything else. And the investigation will find that out.
Yeah, and the mindset about how people attend events. In this case, it sounded like someone threw a chair at the shooter, possibly preventing others from getting shot. People are willing to step in. It's brave.
Yes, absolutely. You know, when we call.
All right, let's go to the next clip. I got another one. I got another one and another one. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out.
Tonight, investigators scouring the woods near Anaconda, Montana for Michael Paul Brown, a 45-year-old suspected killer, after authorities say he opened fire inside a bar Friday morning.
This is an unstable individual.
Hold on, did you hear this? Another white man opens fire at a bar. The other white man opened fire at a club. He shot up a wedding. This other white guy shot up a college.
Tonight, investigators scouring the woods near Anaconda, Montana for Michael Paul Brown, a 45-year-old suspected killer, after authorities say he opened fire inside a bar Friday morning.
This is an unstable individual who walked in and murdered 4 people in cold blood for no reason whatsoever.
Officials say this photo, showing Brown without a shirt or pants, captured him before he escaped in a stolen pickup. Investigators say he's likely found clothing and is now believed to be on foot. An Army spokesman tells NBC News Brown served from 2001 through 2005 and was deployed to Iraq, adding he served in the Montana National Guard until 2009.
We have to believe he is still armed. We don't know that he is for sure, but we certainly don't know that he isn't. This is a person who had access to firearms. Obviously, he's had training with firearms.
As the search intensifies, Lacey Grosvold is keeping her 9-year-old daughter close.
We all have to be prepared. You think, well, what would happen if he came up the driveway or if he tried to get into my house? I mean, every single person in this community has to think about those things.
Over the weekend, authorities identified the 4 victims. The family of Nancy Loretta Kelly sharing she recently retired.
She just liked people. She was definitely a people person.
And tonight, the U.S. Marshals say they're now offering $10,000 for any information leading to Brown's arrest. Investigators adding that his motive still remains unclear. Tom?
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
Man, you see these crimes and they're not talking about this, man. They're not talking about any of this. You know? Hit the like button if you haven't already, baby. I got another one.
Case because the suspect.
He was sentenced to nearly 80 years behind bars. But now this Oklahoma teenage baseball prodigy is avoiding prison altogether, and his victims' loved ones say the justice system failed them. Brooke Taylor is following the story. She's live in Dallas. Brooke, tell us all about it. How did it happen?
Hi, John. Yeah, we spoke to the mother of one of the victims who says that their heart is just broken here, and the family feels like there is really just zero justice in this case because the suspect avoided jail time and he was able to essentially just walk free. Jesse Butler here. He is now 18 years old. He was originally charged as an adult in March. He pled no contest to a laundry list of violent sex charges, including first-degree rape, domestic assault, battery by strangulation, and also a violation of a protective order. Now, according to police affidavits, both victims were 16-year-old students also at Stillwater High School in Oklahoma, and they were his girlfriends at the time. They described being repeatedly raped and strangled. The details in these court documents are extremely disturbing here. Butler was 17 when these crimes happened and reached a deal with the district attorney's office that had his status changed from adult to youthful offender. Now, the court found him guilty and sentenced him to 78 years in prison. But because he's now considered a youthful offender, he got to avoid prison time and was put on a rehabilitation plan. The victim's family says the DA's office should not have signed off on this deal, but this is a small town. Football runs the show, and the families point to Butler's father's influence because he's the former director of football operations at Oklahoma State University. Now, the mother of one of the victims told me, quote, "This was the first time we needed the justice system. We placed our trust in it. Sadly, we feel the system has failed the victims." State Representative J.G. Humphrey is now calling for an investigation.
We need an investigation into what's actually going on and get evidence to prove that this court is corrupt and that they are letting sex offenders go.
And we asked the Payne County DA why they agreed to this plea deal. They shared a lengthy statement in part, quote, "Because the 2 counts of attempted rape were the only alleged crimes among the 11 charged that even qualified the case for filing in adult court. And additionally, existing law strongly favors providing offenders under 18 an opportunity for rehabilitation." Now, Butler is going to have daily check-ins. He's also going to have weekly therapy sessions in order to avoid that jail time. But if he violates anything, then he could be reclassified as an adult and could face that prison time. John.
Man, listen, man. Man, listen here. I got a few more white fatigue videos, man, and then we're gonna get back to the Steven Crowder situation. You heard me? You heard me?
ICE agents and videos.
Shooting killed 1 ICE detainee and critically wounded 2 others. The gunman, identified by the Associated Press as Joshua Jean, died by suicide at the scene. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra is live in our D.C. newsroom now. Patrick, what's the latest on this investigation?
Hey, Maritza. Well, we got a pretty meaty update just recently from the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, posting on the social media platform X a lot more information about what was allegedly found at that gunman's house during a search by investigators. Now, Scripps News has obtained a photo of Joshua John of Princeton, Texas. That is who the Associated Press is saying is that suspect. We're still waiting on confirmation of that from law enforcement. Police say he took his own life after shooting indiscriminately at the ICE building, killing 1 detainee and wounding 2 others. Kash Patel at the FBI saying they have found devices, data, and writings in the bedroom of the suspect that indicate, quote, a high degree of pre-attack planning. That includes a downloaded list of Homeland Security facilities, online searches for apps that tracked ICE agents, and videos related to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Also, according to the FBI, a handwritten note was found that said, quote, hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on the roof? Authorities saying that the gunman was found in an adjacent building firing upon that ICE outpost yesterday. We've also been looking into the background of John. We've not found much, but we did find a 2016 conviction in Texas for marijuana delivery. That was a felony. That's where that mugshot comes from, but no other major criminal records. Also records, because there's been so much asked about his political affiliation. We did find that he was an active registered voter. He did vote in a March 2020 primary election in Texas. He used a Democratic ballot, but we have not found that he was particularly active in any sort of political group. President Trump, others in the administration continue to link the shooting to inflammatory rhetoric from the left. Also, Secretary of Homeland Security now saying that they're working to better protect ICE locations from an attack like this in the future.
We are strengthening all of our security at all of our federal facilities and our detention and processing centers.
Okay, so you saw that. You saw it for yourself, man. We're going to get back to the Steven Crowder thing after this. Check this out.
Accepted a plea bargain in the vicious killing of a 40-year-old woman, Julie Minogue. Today, he was sent.
Now, this white dude took an axe and unalived his girlfriend. I don't know if she, maybe she was his wife or girlfriend, but this white man took an axe and unalived his woman. Check it out.
Yohan DeWitt accepted a plea bargain in the vicious killing of a 40-year-old woman, Julie Minogue. Today, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
During that hearing, DeWitt lost control of himself. News 8 investigative reporter Jeff Dedarian was in the courtroom for that. Jeff.
Hey there, Ann. There was already heavy security in the courtroom today. 6 marshals standing guard, and then, with no warning, the killer flew into a rage.
Yohan DeWitt kept his cool at the beginning, hands folded, staring.
That white man took an axe and dismembered his girlfriend's body. You talk about somebody who's a savage. Listen, man, it takes a savage to do somebody in with an axe. See, it's much easier to do it with a gun, but when you use an axe, yeah, that's
flew into a rage. Marshals standing guard, and then, with no warning, the killer flew into a rage.
Yohan DeWitt kept his cool at the beginning, hands folded, staring down at times. But when State's Attorney Margaret Kelly ironically was saying DeWitt precisely planned the murder and could not control himself, that's the moment when the convicted murderer lost it.
Cold, calculated, well thought out to the extent that we could Uber.
Sit down. Sit down, Brian. Hell, you piece of
Watch your mouth.
He was restrained. The proceedings continued. Police say in December of 2022, DeWitt killed his ex-girlfriend, Julie Minogue, hitting her with an axe 13 times while her...
Oh, he hit her with an axe 13 times. I'm a savage. Oh, I'm a savage. I'm a savage. Oh, man, you got to be a savage. He hit this woman 13 times with an axe. You want to talk about a savage? Oh.
Continued. Police say in December of 2022, DeWitt killed his ex-girlfriend, Julie Minogue, hitting her with an axe 13 times while her kids were there, including a young son Minogue shared with DeWitt.
Luke, who's a baby, he was in shock after.
DeWitt given 40 years today. Before he killed, mountains of rage, authorities say. He sent hundreds of text messages to Minogue. Milford police highly criticized for mishandling, delaying an arrest warrant and other paperwork just before the murder. This mother, her body shaking with emotion, telling DeWitt she hopes he rots in hell.
He denied me and my family the right to see my daughter, even before her funeral, because he mutilated her.
Prosecutors say DeWitt was so cold, he actually let his son watch him. The little boy sat inches.
Whoa, so I heard about this too. He let his son watch. Man, listen, this white guy was so much of a savage that he let his son watch. He unalived her in front of her children, and he sat up there and he told his son to watch him put in his work. He hit this woman with an axe 13 times, and he did it in front of children. He's a savage, a savage. Oh, man, this dude is a savage.
Mountains of rage, authorities say. He sent hundreds of text messages to Minogue. Milford police highly criticized for mishandling, delaying an arrest warrant and other paperwork just before the murder. This mother, her body shaking with emotion, telling DeWitt she hopes he rots in hell.
He denied me and my family the right to see my daughter, even before her funeral, because he mutilated her.
Prosecutors say DeWitt was so cold, he actually let his son watch him. The little boy sat inches from his mom on the couch as her life ended. DeWitt himself, during the proceedings, leans into the microphone.
I want to say I'm sorry. I snapped.
At one point, the state's attorney filling up with her.
He said, "I'm sorry, I just snapped." Now, that's not something you do when you just snap. You're battling demons. You are a demon. You hit a woman with an axe 13 times and you did it in front of children. The fact that you did it, period, is enough. But then to take it a step further, you did it in front of children. This dude is a savage. Ooh, a savage.
Own emotion almost overcome. You hear the strain in her voice. This does not happen often in court cases like this. It's usually just the facts.
On that very first court date, he looked at me and he asked me to remember the last minutes of his daughter's life and what she must have been going through.
And there's the dad of the victim, brokenhearted, from out of state, but never, ever missed not one court date.
He said he was sorry. What did you think when you heard that?
Those are just words, okay? But read into the document that was prepared, I didn't hear much sorrow.
The dad also saying outside of court today that at least the family does not have to relive this anymore in court. The victim's mother saying life in prison, that would not even be long enough because of what DeWitt has put her family through.
My God, he was a savage. Ooh, a savage. Ooh.
All right, Mr. Coulter, please stand. All right, Mr. Coulter, after considering all the evidence in this case.
He killed the kid too. Look, Brian Coulter, he unalived a kid. He's a child murderer. And you talk about white fatigue, and then I think he got warrior. I don't know what that is on his neck.
In the arguments from counsel, the court hereby finds you guilty of capital murder as charged in the indictment. Is there any legal reason now, sir, why the court should not pronounce sentence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Coulter, as legally I'm required to do by law, after having been found guilty.
It is warrior, and that's what it says on his neck. He's an Aryan warrior. See, they got a white supremacist gang, and it's a prison gang. It's called the Aryan Warriors. Yeah.
I hereby, having been found guilty of capital murder as charged in the indictment, I hereby sentence you to life without parole, and you shall stay in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for the remainder of your life. And with that, State, are there any victim impact statements?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Coulter, have a seat.
The state has rested in the capital murder trial of Brian Coulter. He's accused of killing 8-year-old Kendrick Lee and leaving the boy's decomposing body.
I did a story on this. Now, he was with this black woman. He was in a relationship with this black woman, and she let this white man unalive her son. Now, keep in mind, she's a single mother with different baby daddies. She gets with a racist white man, and she allows this white man to unalive her son. And then he stuffed the body in a room, and his body decomposed. This is an 8-year-old child. This hood rat with this blonde hair or whatever she got going on, this woman looks terrible. She let this white man beat her son to the point to where he was unconscious. Then eventually he passed away, and he stuffed the body in a room and the body decomposed. This white man unalived an 8-year-old black child, and his hood rat allowed him to do it. This hood rat, this Keisha, allowed this white man to do it.
8-year-old The state has rested in the capital murder trial of Brian Coulter. He's accused of killing 8-year-old Kendrick Lee and leaving the boy's decomposing body in an apartment where the boy's brothers had to live. The surviving brothers recounted the heartbreaking details in court today. ABC 13's Courtney Fisher has more on a dramatic 911 call that one of those brothers made.
Today ended with finally hearing that 911 call from the 15-year-old who said on the phone to dispatchers, quote, "My brother is dead. He's been dead for a while." We heard from all three surviving siblings. One by one, they testified. It was gut-wrenching, but they stayed calm and composed the whole time, going through those detailed events, what they called abuse. The two younger boys, who were ages 10 and 7 at the time that their brother Kendrick Lee died at the hands, they say, of Brian Coulter, they told us that they saw Brian Coulter beat Kendrick Lee to death. And Coulter sat there stone-faced. Take a look. No reaction for hours, just like this, listening as each boy took the stand describing that alleged abuse. The 15-year-old sitting just a few feet away from the man he said he once looked at as, quote, a father figure. But the teen didn't look at Coulter once as he described how his mother's boyfriend would lock his 3 younger brothers in their bedroom for days so they, quote,
So he said he looked at this white man as a father figure. That white man didn't come over there to play stepdaddy. He was having fun with the mother. Yeah. He exploited her stupidity. He exploited her sexually. And this white man unalived her 8-year-old son in the process. Beat this kid to the point to where he was unconscious. Then eventually he passed away. Then they stuffed his body in a room and it decomposed. And the other children sat in the house and watched everything happen. This is crazy.
Wouldn't go into the kitchen just a few feet away from the man he said he once looked at as, quote, a father figure. But the teen didn't look at Coulter once as he described how his mother's boyfriend would lock his 3 younger brothers in their bedroom for days so they, quote, wouldn't go into the kitchen. The teen says he would hear crying coming from that room when Coulter went in, at one point texting his mother that he saw Kendrick not moving under a blue blanket. The 2 younger brothers testified earlier through video. The judge ruled they didn't have to be in the same room as Coulter because of the alleged trauma. The boys both said they saw Coulter beat Kendrick to death, punching, kicking, even hitting the 8-year-old using the children's own toys, a plane, and Spider-Man figurine. By the way, we're not identifying the boys for their own protection, but those 3 siblings we heard from today.
And this happened in Texas, man. I don't know if it was Houston or Dallas. It was either in Houston or Dallas, man. But this happened in Texas, man. I covered this story a few years ago, man. On Red Supreme TV1, I covered this story back in like 2023. It was either in 2022 or 2023. I remember when I covered this story, man.
Lived with the body of their decaying brother for nearly a year. Kendrick.
Man, they stuffed that body in that room for a year. So the child's body was just in the room for a year. Now, I wonder what the family was saying. How come the family never asked for the kid? Did they report the kid missing? Man, I don't know.
They didn't have to be in the same room as Coulter because of the alleged trauma.
Shout out to Pretty Boy for the super chat. Shout out to the Deacon for the super chats as well.
The boys both said they saw Coulter beat Kendrick to death, punching, kicking, even hitting the 8-year-old using the children's own toys, a plane, and Spider-Man figurine. By the way, we're not identifying the boys for their own protection, but those 3 siblings we heard from today lived with the body of their decaying brother for nearly a year as their mother and Coulter moved out, investigators say. Today, the state rested their case. We've also learned we won't hear from Brian Coulter himself. He has decided not to testify. As for whether or not the defense has a case to put on, they haven't quite made that decision. We have a break in trial tomorrow, but we'll resume on Monday. Of course, we'll be there.
Man, that's sad when you got a woman who would let a man do this to her child. You really let this man do that? You let this man do that to your child? And then the kid said he looked at that white man as a father figure. Now, this right here took place in Vallejo, California, right here, man. Vallejo, California, where Renia, forget her name, Renia something, man. I covered this story maybe like a week ago, man. She was with this white man and he unalived her. You know, he had her come to this house, and I don't know why any woman would walk into a house like that, but he unalived her. He used a knife. Then he stuffed her body in a wall. He put her body in a wall, then he put cement over it, and they found her body in a wall in some abandoned house. And the house was just torn down. The house was just like, it was like a squatter's house that was, dirty. It was rats in there. It was roaches. It was whatever you can think of. It was in that house, man. And for some reason, she followed this white man in the house. He took a knife and ended her life and stuffed her body in a wall, man. It was horrific, man. It was crazy, but hey, man, sit on back, man, and I'm going to get my commentary right after the video. Let's get it. This happened in the Bay Area. The Bay Area, Vallejo, California, is right next door to Oakland, man.
Family members consoled each other outside court in Fairfield after the man accused of killing 28-year-old Renia Lewis in Vallejo was charged with murder.
Our family is under grievance. We are devastated at this time.
They're heartbroken that Lewis, the light of their life, is no longer with them, allegedly killed by someone they don't know. The defendant, 41-year-old Douglas Irwin Shaw, answered a few questions from the judge in Solano County Superior Court. The father of two girls did not enter a plea.
Renia was a queen. That's who she was.
LaToya Lewis was among dozens of family members who packed the courtroom, shocked over the killing of her cousin, who would have turned 29 on Monday.
Renia, we love you. You know that. You know the heart of your family. You know the blood of this Lewis family would have never stopped looking for you.
Authorities said Shaw used a knife to kill the victim, then dismembered her in a detached unit where he lived near 14th Street and Star Avenue in Vallejo. Her body was found hidden in a space leading up to the attic. I've learned Vallejo police seized many knives from his home. Police later arrested Shaw at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, where he works as a mechanic. Her family and police tell me the two were not a couple and may have met only recently. Authorities have not discussed a motive or circumstances leading up to the killing. The defendant will return to court next week. He's being held without bail at Solano County Jail.
Man, so you guys, you see what it is, man. And like I say, man, I got so many stories, like endless stories, man, about stuff like this. Check this out.
Got a plea of guilty in this. You're gonna have to speak up for me. Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Guilty.
Is that a yes? You're pleading guilty because you're guilty?
Yes.
Did you go over the paperwork with your attorney?
Yes.
Did he answer all your questions?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
If you're not a citizen, I must tell you that a plea of guilty in this case, which you are charged in these cases, which you are charged in, may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission.
Hold on, that ain't the one I'm looking for. Check this out. We got another one, man. Shout out to Scoop, man, for the 5, man. I appreciate you, Scoop, for the 5, my brother.
County jury found a man guilty of capital murder after shooting his neighbor in 2023. Trevor McEwen was originally set to go to trial in May, but he cut off his ankle monitor, leading law enforcement on a month-long manhunt. He was eventually found in a muddy hole under his grandparents' home. Now, 2.5 years after the original crime, prosecutors and family members call the jury's decision justice. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager was at court this afternoon. Peyton.
Steve, and the Kaufman County jury deliberated for about 4.5 hours this afternoon, coming back with that guilty verdict right before 5 p.m. No cameras were allowed inside the courtroom, but I can tell you that Trevor McEwen had little reaction when the verdict was read out loud, and little reaction when the Martinez family went up to give their victim impact statements. Erin Martinez's wife had a powerful statement. She said that she thought she would never be able to forgive Trevor McEwen, but she said once she heard that verdict this afternoon, she actually found forgiveness. And then Martinez's teenage daughter also gave a victim impact statement, calling McEwen selfish, emphasizing the fact that she will spend the rest of her life without her father.
I just, I'm very emotional what happened right now, but I'm good.
The Martinez family relieved Thursday after a 4-day trial. A trial the presiding Kaufman County judge called emotionally charged from the beginning.
The main thing, this guy, he stayed forever. They're making no more damage to nobody because they was dangerous, man.
Trevor McEwen sentenced to life in prison Thursday after being found guilty of capital murder. In May 2023, McEwen shot and killed his neighbor, Aaron Martinez, before surrendering in a SWAT standoff. Investigators say there had been prior incidents between the two. Kaufman County prosecutors called the murder an act of hatred, revealing in court McEwen shot Martinez more than 30 times, including once in the forehead.
Ooh, he shot this dude 30 times. Man, these white dudes are savages. And they got the nerve to talk about black fatigue while ignoring stuff like this. These people are hypocrites. Look at all the violent crimes they commit, but they ignore stories like this. We got to do more stories on white fatigue, man. We got to bring more awareness to white fatigue. And guess what? I'm going to do it.
Called the murder an act of hatred, revealing in court McEwen shot Martinez more than 30 times, including once in the forehead.
This was not just about some sort of road rage incident or some kind of family drama. This was something more than that. And the 32 gunshot wounds, that's what the jury needed to see.
McEwen's murder trial was originally set to start in May, but he cut off his ankle monitor and took off. After a month-long manhunt, McEwen was found hiding underneath his grandparents' home in Van Zandt County. McEwen's relatives were present for this week's trial, but didn't have any comment after the verdict was read. McEwen claimed self-defense and even took the stand.
White men always try to claim self-defense, man. You shoot somebody 30 times, that's not self-defense, man. How you gonna shoot somebody 30 times and then turn around and claim self-defense? Why? Because a lot of white men have gotten away with stuff like this. So I guess he figured like, hey, man, it's worth the try. It might look bogus, it might look ridiculous, but I'm still gonna claim self-defense. This dude
able to give a clear answer, and the verdict was read. McEwen claimed self-defense and even took the stand, unable to give a clear answer, and at times talking in circles, something his attorney admits likely hurt his case.
He's not very well spoken, and I don't think that he presented himself the way that we obviously would have hoped, but at the same time, he is who he is. He does not communicate well. And I was concerned that what did happen would happen.
An ex-girlfriend of Trevor McEwen also testified, saying McEwen was violent during their relationship, mentally and physically abusing her.
I thank God every day that I have survived that man, and Aaron Martinez did not get that chance. He deserves to be behind bars for the rest of his life.
Now, under Texas state law, capital murder only has 2 possible sentences: the death penalty or automatic life in prison. And the Kaufman County DA told us this afternoon, prior to the trial, they were not seeking the death penalty, but that they would proceed with a capital murder trial. Therefore, he was found guilty this afternoon and sentenced to life in prison.
Man, I got more stuff, right? You can't shoot somebody 30 times and then claim self-defense. But I guess if you white, it's worth a try.
New tonight, a man charged with hitting and killing a Statesville family while driving drunk has been arrested again while he was out on bond. The Iredell County Jail website shows Austin Ray Harmon is currently in cut this hour. It is unclear what his most recent charges are. Back in 2022, Harmon, though, was accused of driving his car over the center line, killing 3 people, riding in a golf cart, and injuring others. He was released after posting a $310,000 bond, and he would later be charged in another alcohol-related incident. We've reached out to the Iredell County Sheriff's Office to see what his...
Yeah, that's sad, man. Rest in peace to that family. You know, it doesn't matter if they're white, black, or whatever. You know, it's always sad when you see something like that, man. It's always sad when you see something like that, man. You know, rest in peace to that family, man. May God be with them. God bless them, man. Man, this is crazy. Hit the like button if you haven't already, family. You know, it's just one of those things, man, where you got some crazy people out here, man. You got some crazy people out here, man, and you just never know, like, what you're dealing with out here, man. That's crazy, man. Hit the like button, man, and show some love to the show. Shout out to my people, man. You know? You knew. Hold on one second. Hold on one second, family. Yeah, man. True indeed, y'all. So we're just here giving you guys some knowledge and information. Yeah, man. But when you think about the Steven Crowder situation, like with the conservatives, like they never hold their people accountable. And they want to talk about accountability for the black community. They don't never hold their people accountable for anything. Shout out to everybody for rocking with us. Shout out to Pretty Boy. Shout out to everybody, man. True indeed, giving you what you need. Hey, I'm gonna bring you up to speed with this content, man. Giving you the reality, giving you the facts. Let's get back to the content. You already know. Stay safe out there, people. Listen, man. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Hold on, my page is tripping. Hold on, y'all. Hold on one second, y'all. If let me see. If somebody want to pull up real quick, man, and you want to give your thoughts on white fatigue and the Steven Crowder situation, and just pull up now, man. Pull up now and give your thoughts on it, man. If you got something that you want to add to the conversation, the time is now, man. So let me give you guys like another, a couple of minutes, man. So if somebody want to add to it, you can add to it. We're going to talk about why black conservatives never talk about these cases. White conservatives, white Republicans, they're not going to talk about it. And, it is what it is. So the link is in the chat if you guys want to pull up to speak. Feel free to hit the link if you want to pull up to speak. No problem. Red Supreme. Said barbarian, huh? A barbarian. I'm a barbarian. I'm a barbarian. I'm a barbarian.
We can cut his kind of hair, but we're talking about what black people. Hold on. We talking about where the money's supposed to come from. It's come.
Let me bring up my man, Street Media. Street Media, where you at, brother? Let me see. For some reason, Street Media, where you at, bro? Maybe you might have to come out and come back in. For some reason, they're not. I don't hear anything from my man, Street Media.
Companies that are $1 trillion, billion companies that started in the 1600s,
Yeah, hit the link again, my brother. Hit the link again.
1700s that are still around, and they benefited and profited immensely from that.
What if it's a
They
company
should
that never had
have to
slaves? Should they pay reparations?
No, not that the company had slaves, but we had companies that insured slaves. You had companies that transported slaves.
What if it's a company that did none of it? Should they pay?
No, if they didn't have anything to do with chattel slavery, no, they
Right.
shouldn't.
Neither
but
did
the
I.
companies that should. But
let me say this.
But your
But
grandfather,
you understand the point?
but if your grandfather was here in the United States, I don't know. You said you from Canada. I don't know. We not worried about it. We worry about the people.
What if
that
your
were here.
grandfather was a slave owner and mine wasn't?
My grandfather was.
What if he was? But
Hold
my
on,
point is,
hold
what if he
on.
was? Because
My grandfather was a sharecropper in Plaquemine, Louisiana, in a little
Right.
small town called Bayagula. So he was 2 generations removed from slavery. So I know I have a root in slavery.
Okay.
Somebody
What if
owned
I have
my
no root in
great-grandfather.
What if I have no root in slavery?
Well, you don't owe nothing. You don't owe it. Your grandfather, if your grandfather from Canada, his slave,
Okay,
he
I'm
don't
just
owe
trying to.
nothing.
So
If
then
your
people who didn't
grandfather was
owe,
down here telling
we
niggas
don't
what
pay
to do,
reparations.
he owe money.
But Steve,
You know what I'm saying?
here's what I'm telling you. The whole
We're not going to play that game with Steven Crowder because, like I said, even the white people that had nothing to do with it, they still got jobs working from these white companies that got wealthy. So they still benefit from it, even when they tell you their family had nothing to do with slavery. Because a lot of white people were put in positions of power by these companies who did get wealthy from slavery. Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and a long list of others, and a long list of other companies. These white people that had nothing to do with slavery, they still worked for a lot of these companies who did get wealthy from slavery. So they still benefit from it because those white corporations and companies put wealth in the hands of other white people. And they put other white people in positions of power. Even if those white people didn't have anything to do with slavery, they still benefit because they work for the companies who did profit from slavery. That is a fact, homie. And when you look at the upper ladder, when you look at the people in these corporations and companies who got high positions in those companies, those are all white people. The 95% of those are white faces. Let's get it. So they still benefit from slavery, man. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how they try to slice the pie. Information, the informant.
Yo, can you hear me? Am I coming through clear?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, bro.
I just want to say this, man. Great show. I'm glad that I found your channel. I didn't know that you had another channel, but I'm glad I found it. Without taking too much of your time, I just want to say this. When it comes to this whole fatigue thing, I think people like Anton Daniel, they use it as a marketing strategy. The same thing as I think that he uses. He tried to force black people to call him a coon. That way he can repackage that, sell it to white people. I think that's part of his marketing strategy. In my opinion, that's what I think he does. But when it comes to this white fatigue, I have to agree with it because they have a higher population of criminals than they do with black people, and that's all I want to say, man. I think, hey man, you're doing a great job up here. I don't know if something happened to your other channel, man, but I'm glad I found you, man.
No, I still do work over there. We're just monetized over here. So since we're monetized over here, I said, you know what, I'm gonna start doing more content over here because we're monetized, man.
Okay,
that
makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. Thanks for letting me up, man.
Appreciate you, brother. All right. Shout out to bro for pulling up. Yeah, man.
Hold on a second. Here's what I'm telling you. If you're to go through the numbers, sir, do we agree? If I have no connection to slavery whatsoever, that I don't owe. Me.
You don't.
We agree.
don't.
Okay.
You
So
don't.
do you realize that you could take all the white people in this country, and if you're going to add up everyone where you could actually trace the lineage to slave owners or had any involvement, you would end up with maybe 2 or 3%?
See, this is where they're gaslighting. Those same white people was able to get jobs from the white people who did profit from slavery. So white people who had nothing to do with it, their families didn't own slaves, they still benefit from it. Why? Because that system protects white people. That system, those corporations and companies still hires white people, and they put those white people in positions of power. So somewhere down the line, white people still benefit from slavery, even if their family had nothing to do with it directly. I'm giving you the facts, family. I am giving you the facts. Let me bring up my dog, Scoop, man. Scoop, where you at? Let me see. Hold on. Let me add Scoop to the stream real quick. Hold on. Let me take this out. What is this? Hold on. Hit the link again, Scoop. They still benefit from it. Even if their families didn't own slaves directly, they still got jobs working for these corporations and companies that hired other white people, and they put other white people in what? Positions of power. All the top people at those corporations are white faces. They might have a token black person here and there, but they put other whites in positions of power. Even if their family had nothing to do with slavery directly, somehow white people still benefit from it because those corporations and companies by large hired white people and put white people in positions of power. And how did they get that? How did they get those companies in the first place? They got wealthy from chattel slavery. That's the reality. That's the reality right there. You know, I dropped the link again, man. Hit the like button.
2 or 3% of white people in this country.
There go them numbers.
You
There go
guess
them
their
numbers.
entire
You throw
salary,
out.
it
There
wouldn't
go
give you
them numbers.
reparations.
There go them.
Most of us have nothing.
Somebody did it.
Can I fairly
Somebody did.
Yeah,
What I would have said is it don't matter. Your people still benefit from it. The white people who did get wealthy, they hired white people who had nothing to do with it. So white people who had nothing to do with it still benefit from it because other white people put other white people in positions of powers, and they got high positions in those companies who did benefit and make profits from, who did benefit and profit from slavery. Let me say that, family. So he can't use that argument with me. The white people who did get wealthy from slavery hired other white people to work for their corporations and companies. And guess what? They put a lot of white people in a position of power. So somehow white folks still benefit from it, even if their family didn't own slaves directly. I'm giving you the facts. He said, here go them numbers. Here go them numbers. This dude is crazy.
Africans sold them into slavery.
Somebody owed.
It's still going on right now.
Somebody owed.
There are more slaves on earth right now than ever. Did you know that?
There's more slaves on earth right now than ever. Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? Come on, Steve. We ain't. Come on. Oh, man. Hit the like button, family, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Let me ask you a question. We're not gonna really get to the heart of it. Let me ask you this: are you aware of what's going on with McDonald's right now?
McDonald's, the company?
Yeah, McDonald's, the company.
I'm aware they can't get my fillet of fish right anytime I go.
Let me tell you what's really happening. I got a friend of mine who currently has 5 McDonald's locations, right? So there are
He said, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's more slaves now than ever. Yeah.
Back here in the Central Valley, a Tulare County man is in jail accused of setting a woman on fire.
This white man set this woman on fire. Talk about a savage, man. He set this woman on fire.
Central Valley, a Tulare County man is in jail accused of setting a woman on fire. Family members say the victim is his wife. Tonight, her son is by her side in the hospital and speaking with Action News. Good evening and thank you for joining us for Action News Live at 11. I'm Christina Lopez. The Tulare County Sheriff's Office announced the arrest and shared details of the disturbing crime today. Action News reporter Vince Ibarra is at the live desk after speaking with the victim's son. Vince.
Well, Christina, Sheena Hoffman's son Michael can't believe the reality his family is facing right now. He is currently at the hospital in Bakersfield with his mother. He says she's in an induced coma and on a ventilator. He's distraught, and he tells Action News he will never be able to forgive his stepdad for allegedly committing this horrific crime. The South Valley family in shambles. Michael Post says he was at home when he received a call from his sister about his mother, Sheena, and their stepfather, Sean Hoffman.
She was like, you need to get to mom's house now. Your stepdad just covered her in gas and he's saying he's going to light her on fire.
Tulare County Sheriff's deputies rushed to Hoffman's home on Avenue 120 near Porterville. Around 5:30 on Friday evening, they found Sheena with severe burns to her face, arms, and torso. Michael says the violence is difficult to fathom.
Her home is where everybody goes to. It's always like if anybody needs anything, they call her. She's always the one that runs to people's rescues if they need it.
Authorities say the suspect intentionally poured an accelerant on Sheena. He was arrested by deputies, and Michael watched his mom get airlifted to Bakersfield Memorial Hospital. He says the two have been married for 10 years with 7 children in their blended family. Michael tells Action News he never witnessed any physical violence between the couple, but they did argue often.
There are several forms of domestic violence, and it doesn't always leave bruises. It's not always physical abuse.
Ashley Wolf, director of the Marjorie Mason Center, says it's important to feel safe in a relationship, and if someone doesn't feel safe with their partner, they need to have a plan.
If you feel like you could be in danger, we encourage you to call us if you need help safety planning, or if you have somebody you can talk to that can help you walk through that process.
And if you or someone you know is experiencing
All right, let's go to the next clip, man. Man, hit the like button if you haven't already, man. We're going to show that love, baby. We're going to show that love, man. Hit the like button. Check this out right here. This is the dude that tried to...
Now to the guilty verdict in a Florida courtroom.
It's a nice looking woman right there. Nice looking black woman right there. Yeah, nice looking sister right there. Hey, but check this out, man. This is the white dude who tried to assassinate President Donald J. Trump. Every time there was an attempt on anytime there was an attempt on Donald J. Trump's life, it was always a white man trying to assassinate him. The biggest threat to a white man is another white man. Charlie Kirk lost his life by somebody who looks like him, but Charlie Kirk spent most of his time telling everybody how violent black people was, and it was his own people who wanted to lie to it. Listen, black people was no threat to Charlie Kirk. I don't know one black person that wanted to harm Charlie Kirk, but it was a lot of people who wanted. It was a lot of white tea people who wanted to harm Charlie Kirk, right? Nobody black ever thought about harming Charlie Kirk. Charlie didn't receive no death threats from black folks. He received death threats from his own people, and it was his own people who took him out of the game. Now check this out. This is the white man who tried to assassinate Donald Trump. Check it.
Now to guilty verdict in a Florida courtroom for the man who tried to assassinate President Donald Trump. Fox 13's Connor Hansen joining us now live from Florida. And Connor, this was a dramatic day in court.
It sure was, Sabera, and it only took about 2 hours for that jury to deliberate before unanimously finding Ryan Ruth guilty on all 5 charges. That was followed by a dramatic outburst. Ruth even trying to jab a pen into his own neck before being restrained by U.S. Marshals. We also saw an outburst by his daughter, who's been at the trial for the past 2 weeks or so.
A Florida jury finding Ryan Ruth guilty of trying to kill President Trump at his golf course last year. The trial lasted just over 2 weeks. And now Ruth has been convicted on 5 federal charges, including attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate and assaulting a federal officer. During closing arguments, prosecutors told jurors there's no doubt it was Ruth who was camped out at the golf course with a rifle. Quote, evidence has shown one thing and one thing only. The defendant wanted Donald Trump dead. They say he excessively stalked Trump's location and wrote a rap song about killing the then presidential candidate with
he even wrote a rap song. This dude wrote a rap song about unaliving Trump. This white man wrote a rap song, man. Oh, man.
2 weeks. And now Ruth has been convicted on 5 federal charges, including attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate and assaulting a federal officer. During closing arguments, prosecutors told jurors there's no doubt it was Ruth who was camped out at the golf course with a rifle. Quote, evidence has shown one thing and one thing only. The defendant wanted Donald Trump dead. They say he excessively stalked Trump's location and wrote a rap song about killing the then presidential candidate with a sniper rifle after he was arrested by the FBI.
The narrative here is really, really tight. They presented it in a very, very compelling way.
Ruth, who has been representing himself, made a series of unusual requests throughout the trial, including challenging President Trump to a, quote, beatdown session. He spent the majority of his closing arguments trying to prove there was no intent to kill because a gun was never fired.
I do think we're going to see appeals here in terms of Mr. Ruth's ability to represent himself, although he made that choice.
And jurors did ask to see that gun one more time before they made their decision. Now, aside from those federal charges, Ruth still faces state charges for terrorism and attempted murder. Sabira.
Man, check this out, man. This is crazy. This is crazy, family, man. Check this out. I got some more stuff, man. I told you, man. You don't have white men trying to, you don't have black men trying to assassinate Donald Trump. It's white men. The biggest threat to a white man is another white man, but they always want to talk about black fatigue.
In Scottsdale, expected to begin today.
We're talking about Ian Mitchum. He is accused of killing 31-year-old Allison Feldman 10 years ago. Now, he was first charged in 2018, but there's been a lengthy delay due to a court battle over DNA evidence. Police used a sample of DNA from a previous DUI arrest to link Mitchum to the crime. His attorneys argued that Scottsdale police only had the DNA because the sample wasn't destroyed 3 months after his arrest, as it should have been, which violates Mitchum's Fourth Amendment right to consent. Ultimately, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled it could be used because he would have been linked to the crime eventually. The case is also marking the first time in Arizona where familial DNA was used to help track down a suspect. Police used DNA from his brother, who was in prison at the time, to link him to the murder. The trial is expected to start right around 10:30 this morning. Time now 8:02. Dozens gathering in the West Valley to remember Vincent Upton.
So he was killed after being swept away by floodwaters. Many
Man, let me bring up Scoop. Scoop, what it do, bro?
Shoot, what's good? Salute, Red. Salute to the chat. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, bro.
Give you a little bit of these work hours times. But yeah, man, what they talking about? Black fatigue. How the hell they got black fatigue when they should be the permanent face of generational criminality? Because all they've ever did was be criminals. Period. From day one, ever since we and them have come in contact with each other. What is they talking about? How you gonna make us the face of criminality and pretend that we're so violent when we can prove time and time again throughout history, you not only have been violent, you've been violent with everyone. Everyone that's came in contact with those folks. The only thing they know is violence. They don't know talking. They don't know peace. They know violence. That's the way they have took over things, through violence. That's the way they made society submit, through violence. That's the same thing they've done with it, causing animals to go to extinct, with violence. That's all they know is violence. You can't tell us anything about their violent history. We not the ones that's doing all this stuff that they doing. Babylon is falling. Why is Babylon falling? Because of their violence. That's what Babylon is built on. But funny thing is, when something happens with us or we do something, we're labeled the face of criminality. Come on, man. You got to do better. You got to come up with a better lie than that. I mean, you might got some of us out here that believe that and bite in and say, oh, yeah, blacks are so violent and we commit all the crime. How in the hell are we only 13% of the population responsible for 50% of the crime? I mean, I ain't no math scholar, but something right there don't add up. So somebody lying somewhere. And anybody that believed that, they must have failed math. They must be broke as hell because they can't put 2 cents together and come up with a answer. You let them tell you that? When I first heard that, I said that don't make no sense. How in the hell does that make sense? We such a small amount of people, but we responsible for most of the crime, half of the crime. There's no way. There's no way, especially not with all the brothers being locked up. Half of our society is crippled because a lot of us is sitting in prison. A lot of us sitting in jail. A lot of us incarcerated. A lot of us ain't even on the streets. But that's who you focus on. Because somebody go do one thing, you label all of us that way. This fool got the nerve to talk about, oh, if I walked in a black community, I'll get my butt kicked. Because I'm like, but get your butt kicked from what? Ain't nobody worried about you. Let me bring him to LA. White folks walk through LA all the time. My whole neighborhood look gentrified.
And guess what, Scoop? If we went through South Central right now, who would the thugs be looking to confront? Me, you, or the white man?
Us.
Us.
They don't care nothing about him. He could walk his dog, drink his Starbucks, you know what I'm saying? Look on his phone. He don't even have to look up. Pass right. They will pass his behind up to get at us all day long. They'll shoot over him to shoot at us. What's he talking about? No, you know why? Because he looks at how his community operates and figure we operate the same. No, that's us that we come in their communities and come up missing. That's us that they write swastikas all on the wall. If you remember, Red, there was stories about them doing that in Palmdale and Lancaster, trying to run black families out of there by writing swastikas on the garages.
Yeah, man.
N-word. That was them folks. That wasn't us.
Hey, Scoop, that was the 90s. You remember, like in the early 90s, you was hearing that. But when more black people started moving out there, the Nazis just kind of disappeared. Now, they still out there, but they can't be open with that racism. They only did that when blacks was low in numbers in Palmdale. Once blacks got numbers in Palmdale, Lancaster, man, you don't hear about that no more.
Yeah, exactly. And they was complaining like hell when our population started growing out there. You know what I'm saying? Most parolees, where they were sending them straight up that damn freeway. You know what I'm saying? Straight up that freeway, right into that high desert. You know what I'm saying? You was either going to Palmdale, Lancaster, or Victorville.
Yep.
That's why so many of us out there. Everybody you done seen in LA, you done seen in one of them places. They done had a little spot in Victorville, Palmdale, and Lancaster. We know that. You know what I'm saying? And they met us with violence the minute when we start coming out there. That ain't us being violent. Ain't nobody thinking about them. They done walked in. I done been in the city and they done walked into soul food restaurants. Hey, brother, can I get a number 3 with the collard greens? How are those? Are the collard greens good? Ain't nobody told them, get your white behind out of here. Ain't nobody told them that. Ain't nobody ran in there with the blicky trying to pew the restaurant up with them in it. Nobody thinking about them.
And listen, when Nipsey Hussle passed away, you remember all those white folks going over there to take pictures? Was black people bothering on white folks when they wanted to go by the Nipsey Hussle mural and buy some soul food on Crenshaw? No, we let them come. They ate, took pictures. Nobody bothered them.
Hey, Red, when I watched, it was a family out there from Australia.
Right.
They came all the way from Australia to see Nipsey's. I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying? White folks was everywhere. And they wasn't scared about no gang violence. They was all in the alleys. I was like, damn. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, they didn't have a fear in they bone. They wasn't a fearful bone in our. So if we so violent, how was you allowed to come over into 60s neighborhood and didn't get touched?
Man, it was white people coming from foreign countries. You know, you had white people from Beverly Hills, foreign countries. Nobody black bothered them. You remember all them white people stopping at them soul food restaurants to get food? They was taking pictures at the restaurants, taking pictures in the alley in the 60s, and nobody black bothered them.
And Red, this went on for days.
Right.
Days they were still coming. I'm like, damn. I'm like, I didn't know Nipsey had a following like that. I'm like, damn. They was Red. They over there snapping pictures in front of the mural, smiling, skinning, and grinning. I'm like, damn, y'all ain't scared of us? I thought that y'all was scared of us and we were so violent and you can't come where we at because we gonna do something to you. Nah, that's not us. That's not how we operate. That's how they operate. We know good and damn well any restaurants Red in LA that they walk into, ain't nobody gonna do nothing to them white folks. They gonna get served. Matter of fact, they probably gonna get served better than we get served. Right. So don't tell me you scared of us and we so violent. No, that's the media portrayal that you guys use to demonize us, to keep a leg up on us and keep us down at the bottom, to keep us believing we less than y'all, that y'all more intelligent than us, that y'all move differently than us, that y'all got money and we don't, that we poor and downtrodden, y'all ain't, that we don't know how to act because we savages and y'all ain't. Y'all want to be the model to us of how to act and how to do. That is a slave master's plantation mentality. We don't have to follow y'all. Y'all are not the gold standard. You want to be, but your history says you not. And the fact that we now got this internet and information is so prevalent, you can't tell that lie no more and get away with it. You can't tell us, you know what I'm saying, that one thing is one thing and it's something else. We can do our own research and our own history. You mad because that internet is now exposing y'all for who you really are and how you really get down. And then we up here calling y'all out. Oh, no, you 13%. Oh, no. Look at all the crime in you guys' neighborhood. Blah, 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 blah. Man, stop it. We know good and damn well your neighborhoods ain't no different. Your trailer parks ain't no different. Crime goes on in y'all's neighborhood. It just goes unreported. The news don't blast y'all like they blast us. The police don't stay in y'all's neighborhood the way they stay in y'all's. I've lived in predominantly white neighborhoods before, Red, and my good Lord, they do. Man, I thought some of the stuff in the ghetto I seen was crazy. Man, the stuff they do over there and get away with it, and the police don't even come. And half the time when the police do come, they sitting out there having a cordial conversation with their ass. I don't want to take you to jail. I've been standing right there and heard the police tell, well, I don't want to take you to jail. Could you just go back in and we could have, a peaceful solution over here because, there's no reason to take y'all. I'm like, wow, like somebody black, boy, they'd have been itching to take your black ass to jail. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't have been no talking. Wouldn't have been no, I'm looking out for you. I'm like, what kind of mess is this? It's different in their neighborhoods, Red. They not over police like us. They don't throw them on the ground like they do us. I done seen them fight the police, scream, yell, swing at the police, and still don't go to jail. Put them in the car with no cuffs on. Put their cuffs in the front. You know how many times I've been told the cuffs can't go in the front. The cuffs have to always go in the back. I'm like, oh, that's a lie because you put these white folks cuffs in the front and allow them to say, I done seen them give white folks rides. I asked a cop one time, can I get a ride? Because I was broke. They said, nope, only way I can put you in that car is if I'm taking you to jail. I said, what kind of mess? I said, okay, I see how it is. It's two different worlds. It's a world that you got made up for them and a world you got made up for us. So don't sit up here and tell me how we so violent. You guys look out for your own. That is number one. You look out for your own. These people getting these light sentences, doing these, heinous crimes that they do, and they looking to try to get them off. That's what they do. These judges is trying to get them off. The police play a hand in trying to get them off. The DA play a hand in trying to get them off, or trying to get them the lightest sentence possible, handing them with kid gloves. But the minute we come walking in there for a traffic ticket, boy, they trying to throw the book at us. They trying to send us the wayside.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what are you talking about? They want to send us the wayside. They want fines, fees. They talking about suspending a brother's license. I know I done went through it. I'm like, man, y'all harsh when it comes to us for the same thing that these folks do, and you don't come at them like that. So once again, who should really have the fatigue? That should be us. Because it's always been their foot on our necks, not the other way around. We ain't never had our foots on their necks, but they've always had their foots on ours, no matter what it comes. Whether it's our ancestors, whether it's us, whether it's our children, whether it's at the job, and whether it's at the store, whether it's in the streets. It's always, it's like an obsession. They are focused on us, laser focused.
Hey, Scoop, you remember the 92 riot, Scoop? Now, if you tried to go west of La Brea, man, you see all them cops out there, man. Listen, homie, you couldn't go over there. They said, well, how come you didn't go to the white folks? No, they was protecting the white communities in LA. They had the National Guard over there. They had roadblocks. They was making sure that you wasn't gonna get anywhere west of La Brea, west of La Cienega. They made sure of that.
Oh no, you wasn't gonna go over there and disturb them good old white folks' peace. You can burn down ABC, you can burn down the Slauson, you can burn down the Inglewood swap meet, but you ain't gonna come over there and burn down nothing over there, boy. You ain't going out to the Torrance and act a fool at they mall. Not gonna happen. You better take your ass back to the Fox Hills because that's not gonna happen. No. They made sure they had police lines. You cross that line if you want, you was going to jail, Red. I know I was out there. You going to jail, you cross them lines. You gonna run out of groceries, or you gonna run it with shopping carts full of groceries out of their store, and you don't have it. Not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Scoop, I remember that because listen, remember ABC, Boys Market, all of that was in the hood and stuff like that. So This is what my pops. This is what we did. We wanted to go to the grocery store. We had to drive way to Culver City. You know where West LA College is in Culver City over there? No, you know. So look, when we went over there, they was only letting like 5 people in at a time or something like that. So we had to drive way to Culver City to get groceries because, you know, our grocery stores on Western Avenue burned down, you know, because thinking it was the boys market and all that. So we had to drive way to Culver City, and Culver City was screening everybody, and they only let a few people in that store in at a time, man.
Shit, Boys Market was right there in the hood, and Boys Market didn't have nothing. It was empty. And we know that was predominantly the Mexicans. The Mexicans was running out there with everything. Boy, the food is free. The food is free. Let's go get the food. The food is free. And then they running out there with everything. Everything they thought they could get their hands on. You know, bring the shopping cart back to the damn neighborhood. Shit, ready to do a second trip. So they can't tell me I saw it with my own 2 eyes. You know what I'm saying? But we the violent ones though, right? If anything, especially when it comes to them folks, we don't got the same smoke for them that they got for us. They are willing to go hands-on with us, Red, all the way to the point of taking our lives. How many stories do you hear that we are hands-on with them like they is with us taking their lives left and right? We don't. Even the black officers know better than not to just gun their behinds down. They ain't got no problem doing it to us. They can put 30 in our back, but they sure don't do it to them white folks, boy. They real careful about how they treat them white folks. You don't see them dropping their head. Where the videos of them dropping them white kids on their heads at school? Nah, that's reserved for us. But we the violent ones. Man, keep pushing them videos, Red. Expose they ass for the lies they telling. Because us in the black community that are conscious and know better than that, ones that seen it, the ones that's been out here in these streets, we know better than that, Red. We know, because we know, shoot, being from LA, we know when them back before it was predominantly Latino, we knew good and damn well, soon as them LA police showed up, they was gonna get violent.
And look at this too. You know, when you get to Western and Wilshire, right past Wilshire, it's like Koreatown over there right now. If you guys can, y'all don't got to take my word for it. Like, no, the white people didn't come save the Asians over there. The Asians had to get on the roof with their guns. But if you listen to what the Asian store owner was saying, they was like, well, shit, this is the Rodney King riot, but it's mostly Latinos, Cholos coming over here to loot. So even if they confused them, the Chinese was like, well, damn, it's the Rodney King riots, but it was nothing but damn Cholos over there trying to loot our stores. Yeah.
Shoot. Hey. The Mexicans was act like it was Rodney Rodriguez. the guy got killed. The way they was acting, I'm like, man, why y'all out here? Y'all don't even know who he is. This don't affect y'all. You know what I'm saying? But they was trying to get that man. They pushing shopping carts down the street with 2 and 3 TVs in them, holding the TVs. One holding the TV, the other one pushing the shopping cart. Man, I saw it with my own 2 eyes. But we the ones that's violent. They always put us the face of, oh, y'all gonna go loot now? Or every time something happened to somebody, like, y'all gonna go loot and rob? Y'all gonna steal everything but a pair of work boots, huh? Is that what y'all do? I'm like, man, like that stereotype is old. Like I said, we got proof. You dropping them receipts, Red, get their ass what they asking for, and I'm gone.
Shout out to my dog Scoop, man, for sliding through. And shout out to Cat 6, man. Cat 6 Cable Guy is the one that sent me these videos. So we got to salute Cat 6 because he the one that sent me all these videos because I knew what was happening. And, you know, I knew that, you know, they commit crimes and stuff, but we got to show Cat 6 a lot of love because he's been sending me these videos, man. So thanks to Cat 6, man, that I got the receipts to post these videos about the criminals in the white community that black conservatives and white conservatives refuse to talk about, right? Now let's get into this this shooting right here, man. This was in 3 cops, listen, homie, 3 cops were unalived. And 3 cops were unalived in Pennsylvania, and it was a white guy, man. Check this out.
Well, For joining us for Fox 43 News at 5, I'm Evan Forrester. The 3 police officers who were shot and killed in York County yesterday have been identified within the last hour by York County District Attorney Tim Barker. Northern York County Regional Police Officers Cody Becker, Mark Baker, and Isaiah Emenheiser, all detectives with the department, were shot and killed during an ambush by 24-year-old Matthew Ruth, that according to Barker, after trying to serve a warrant against him. Fox 43's James Corrigan, live at the Northern York County Regional Police Department headquarters. He has details of what the district attorney has found so far with the investigation.
Well, Evan, the findings only confirmed the worst fears of the community here around the Northern York Regional Police Department. The monument behind me, the memorial behind me to the officers, has only grown throughout the day as the community is coming to grips with the loss of 3 police officers in the line of duty.
They're mission driven, and that day they continued their mission. Well, their mission is now complete.
York County District Attorney Tim Barker delivered an emotional tribute to the 3 Northern York Regional Police officers killed yesterday in North Carolus Township: Cody Becker, Mark Baker, and Isaiah Emenheiser. Barker says the officers were carrying out a search for 24-year-old Matthew Ruth for stalking the home of his ex-girlfriend's mother. When they arrived to that home and opened the door, Ruth fired at the officers from inside, killing 3 and wounding 2 before succumbing to a gunshot wound.
So he unalived 3 officers and wounded 2 more. This is a white man, right? The white man had a warrant out for his arrest, and instead of cooperating and just going in handcuffs, he decided to open fire, and he took the lives of 3 police officers and wounded 2 more. It's crazy.
Officers in the line of duty.
They're mission driven, and that day they continued their mission. Well, their mission is now complete.
York County District Attorney Tim Barker delivered an emotional tribute to the 3 Northern York Regional Police officers killed yesterday in North Carolus Township: Cody Becker, Mark Baker, and Isaiah Emenheiser. Barker says the officers were carrying out a search for 24-year-old Matthew Ruth for stalking the home of his ex-girlfriend's mother. When they arrived to that home and opened the door, Ruth fired at the officers from inside, killing 3 and wounding 2 before succumbing to a gunshot wound.
The door was opened, and upon immediately opening the door, the actor repeatedly fired at the officers with multiple rounds from an AR-15 styled rifle with a suppressor.
According to court documents, Ruth's ex-girlfriend's mother told police that he had set her truck on fire and was seen through a trail camera standing in her driveway and was looking through a scope into the residence with an AR-style rifle across his chest. Barker says the actions of the department in protecting the residents of the home saved them from themselves.
Shout out to Gold P for the super chat, man. I appreciate the brothers. Pretty Boy, Gold P, Deacon. Shout out to Fear to None for the super chat. Shout out to my brothers for supporting this content, man.
Being the victims.
Had they arrived home and not Northern Regional Police Department officers arrived, they would have been killed immediately by the actor.
The shooting marks the 2nd time this year that York County has had to mourn a fallen officer after Andrew Duarte was killed in April in an incident at UPMC Memorial Hospital. Barker paid tribute to all the law enforcement who responded to the scene, who did their duty in the most harrowing of circumstances.
Job well done. Mission well served. And we will love you forever and all eternity.
Now, earlier today, we heard from Governor Josh Shapiro, who said that the 2 officers who were wounded in the shooting would likely make a full recovery. And for those who want to donate to the families of the fallen officers, the police chief here at Northern York said that there would be an official portal for those donations coming very soon. Evan.
Hit the like button. It ain't nothing, man. Salute to my people. You know, just one of them things, man.
Tracy and Jackie, as you guys know, this is obviously not an easy day for anybody involved. Right now, we are outside of Lehigh Valley Hospital, Cedar Crest. This is where that procession took place around 1 o'clock this afternoon. You can tell we're along a very busy road here, Cedar Crest Boulevard. The procession made its way down here on the way to York County. Since it's a very busy road, not a lot of folks were here lining the streets, but a couple of fellow EMTs did come by here. They told me simply they had to pay their respects. Respect.
I just gave Gold P, man. My man, shout out to my man Gold P, man. I just modded you up on the channel, Gold P. I gotta catch one of your live streams, Gold P. And when you go live, I'm gonna tap in with you, man. And you know, we're gonna chop it up. But shout out to the Gold Professor. I just gave Gold Professor a wrench to this channel. Gold P been around for a minute, so it was only right that I gave Gold P one of them wrenches, man.
In admiration on the streets of Salisbury Township this afternoon.
I spend the night just watching the news and crying.
A long line of first responders led the bodies of 3 Northern York County Regional Police detectives back home. They were at Lehigh Valley Hospital Cedar Crest this morning for official autopsies. That procession continued on Hamilton Boulevard, 3 ambulances making the long journey back. Hours earlier, first responders escorted their bodies through sections of Berks County as some stood by the road in silence.
It just was that heavy, like, heart hurting.
Dana Radel stood on Cedar Crest Boulevard with a heavy heart. She's an EMT and her fiance an officer with Bethlehem Police. Radel tells NBC 10 staring at the procession drives home the sacrifice families make every day.
You don't know it unless you're in it. And it's hard to explain to someone, you know, what that feels like.
On Wednesday, Detective Mark Baker, Detective Isaiah Emmenheiser, and Detective Sergeant Cody Becker lost their lives searching for a suspect in North Carolus Township in York County. The gunman ambushed all 3, according to investigators, while serving a warrant.
I don't think any of us will truly understand what they're going through right now, but just know that, like, we all are here and we all are feeling it for them.
Detective Baker worked in the 25th District and Highway Patrol in Philadelphia for 3 years.
It was a white guy who unalived these 3 officers, and he wounded 2 more. So this was a crime committed by white guys. It is mighty funny that it's mighty funny that you never see these black conservatives or these white conservatives, black Republicans or white Republicans. They never talk about the violent crimes that white men commit in this country. A white man tried to assassinate Donald Trump. A white man unalived these 3 police officers. And the video that I'm going to show you next is a white kid in Colorado who shot up in high school, who shot a high school up. Just like you had a white man in Michigan last month who shot up a church and burned it down. Crimes committed by white men.
In the early 2000s.
Charlie Kirk was unalived by a white man, not a black person. But it's mighty funny that they never talk about white fatigue.
Before moving to York County. At a street renaming today for the first female officer killed in the line of duty in Philadelphia in 1996, the police commissioner urged all to remember these officers and their work.
I just honor them. Yeah, I honor those men and women, our colleagues in York. And we
shout out to Lim Hendricks for the 15. Lim Hendricks blessed us with a 15 on the Cash App. I appreciate you, Brody. Shout out to Lim Hendricks.
Keep their hearts and prayers with them, but we also remember, you know, it's a reminder to all of us, you know why this job is so, important.
So very, very important, protecting us all. There's a grieving process, the commissioner says, that everybody has to go through, the men and women at all of those departments, also the families. We all know by now 2 other officers were shot during that ambush. They remain in the hospital this afternoon, and so far no official or formal funeral arrangements. For now, we're live in Salisbury Township.
All right, now that's cold, man. That's cold in the game, as Sir Ism would say. Shout out to my dog, Sir Ism, man. You know, let's get into this. The Colorado shooting, man.
Center for the Study.
2 students are hospitalized tonight, one in critical condition and another is improving, now listed as serious.
That's after a 16-year-old student opened fire at the high school on Wednesday. Your reporter in the Foothills, Alan Janae, was one of the first reporters on the scene that afternoon. Alan, you've been learning more about...
This is in Colorado. A white kid shot up a school in Colorado. Earlier this year, I think it was in May, Florida State University, a white kid shot up that college, right? It's mighty funny that these white conservatives or these black conservatives, they never talk about white fatigue and the violent crimes that white men commit.
That's after a 16-year-old student opened fire at the high school on Wednesday. Your reporter in the foothills, Alan Janae, was one of the first reporters on the scene that afternoon. And Alan, you've been learning more about the suspect based on his online footprint.
Yeah, we have, and it is troubling. There's no doubt about that. The Anti-Defamation League, in its Center on Extremism, has uncovered that the 16-year-old shooter spent substantial time online at sites featuring extremist ideologies and violent, gory content. And they believe he adopted extremist views himself. A handgun and bullets. This was an image, says the ADL, posted on an X or Twitter account belonging to the Evergreen High School shooter the morning of the attack. He would ride a bus to school, say investigators, and open fire. The ADL's research of his accounts show Desmond Holley developed a deep fascination with mass shooters, expressed neo-Nazi views, and frequented a site featuring violent, gory images. The Jeffco Sheriff's Office has pointed to troubling behavior.
It was stated to us specifically.
They say Desmond Holley
was radicalized through an extremist network.
Radicalization seems quite a common element, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The pattern that we're seeing, at least
specifically,
they say.
There you go, right there. There you go. 16-year-old white kid, man, fired the school up, man, unloaded. Critically wounded people. But let's get back to the content, though. And they got the nerve to talk about black fatigue while ignoring stories like this.
Desmond Holley
was radicalized through an extremist network.
Radicalization seems quite a common element, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The pattern that we're seeing, at least from what I can tell so far, is not anything new.
Beverly Kingston is director of CU's Center for the Study and Prevention of Violence. They've found school shooters often bear similarities or pay tribute to other mass shooters. On TikTok, Holley wore a mask with inscriptions including Al-Nur, the name of a mosque where there'd been a mass shooting, and 14, a possible reference to 14 words, a popular white supremacist slogan. In one online...
Of course, he's connected to a white supremacist group. See, these white people talk about Chicago, Los Angeles, but they never talk about the fact that the Ku Klux Klan still exists, Nazis exist, skinheads exist, and the white knights. There's tons of white supremacist groups that exist that they never talk about in the media. Now, I want you guys to think about this. Now, the FBI, the government dismantled the Black Panther Party, and the Black Panthers wasn't going around lynching white people. They wasn't going around burning down white communities. They offered protection to the black community. But the Black Panthers had to get destroyed by the government. But guess what? The government never destroyed the Ku Klux Klan. They never destroyed the Nazis. They never destroyed the skinheads. They never destroyed any one of these white supremacist groups. So it's mighty funny that the Ku Klux Klan is still around, but the Black Panthers in the 1960s, oh, we got to get rid of the Black Panthers. But the Ku Klux Klan, oh, we'll let the Ku Klux Klan live. We'll let the Ku Klux Klan live. So it's mighty funny that the Klan still lives today, but the Black Panther Party, the government dismantled that party. They destroyed it. They labeled the Black Panthers a terrorist hate group, when in reality, it was nothing even close to that. The Black Panthers was not going around lynching white people. They wasn't going around attacking innocent white people. The Black Panthers stood up for black unity, and they fought against police brutality. They offered free lunch to the children in our community. They offered daycare. They offered protection to the community. The Black Panthers was not a terrorist group, but the government labeled them that because they viewed the Black Panthers as a threat moving forward in this country. They never wanted black unity. So the FBI did everything in their power to destroy the Black Panthers because they represented black unity. They represented progress in this country for black people. And that was the white man's biggest fear, that black people will become more unified. They will begin to protect one another. And on top of that, black people were having babies way more than white people were. So they said if this continues, blacks are going to overpopulate us, and they're going to continue to spread unity, and eventually they'll be able to pass down generational wealth. And that was the white man's biggest fear. That is why J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI had to shut the Black Panthers down. They did it out of fear.
school shooters often bear similarities or pay tribute to other mass shooters. On TikTok, Holly wore a mask with inscriptions including Al-Nur, the name of a mosque where there'd been a mass shooting, and 14, a possible reference to 14 words, a popular white supremacist slogan. In one online discussion, another poster wrote, "You got close to a full setup now, man. Time to make a move." Holly, who had collected tactical gear, says the ADL, liked it.
Getting rid of these websites is probably like playing a whack-a-mole game, though, right?
Yes. There's probably not going to be a technical fix to this.
Kingston says young people need to be pointed to pro-social rather than anti-social behavior, but support for those programs, already not good enough, is now declining.
That's an age when you're looking for identity, you're looking for meaning, you're looking for connection. I mean, we all know how much our friends matter at that age. And so that matters for every adolescent.
If there are signs of trouble, help can come too late.
And it's also way better if we can intervene at earlier stages. What we know, when people are radicalized to violence, it's much harder to intervene at those stages than it is at the earlier stages.
Kingston told me she did not think there had ever been a shooting they'd looked at that didn't have warning signs. But at last word, the sheriff's office said they have yet to find any red flags. The sheriff's office says the parents of the shooter are cooperating. As to whether there could be any charges against family, clearly we are looking into everything, they told me today.
And will be interesting to figure out kind of what we learn more about this. And now we know you'll stay on top of it for us.
You bet.
Thank you. We've also just learned that students and faculty will be able to pick up any items left inside the school.
So listen, man, we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to wrap this one up, man. I think we done said enough. Peace, love, and blessing. Peace, love, and blessings. Giving you game to keep you from stressing is Red Supreme. Support the game. And like I said, black conservatives, they're full of it. I don't trust black conservatives. I don't trust black Democrats. The only black people that I will work with are black people who are independent. I don't trust black conservatives. I can trust black liberals. I don't trust black Democrats. I don't trust anybody that align themselves with these different parties. Let me tell you something. Right wing, left wing, both of those wings come from the same bird. So it don't matter if it's right or left, it's the same damn bird. Right? I just don't want to hear nothing. Peace, love, and blessings. Giving you this game to keep you from stressing is Red Supreme. Tap in for the game. Subscribe to the channel. And tell everybody from Red Supreme TV1 to get on over here to King Supreme where we drop beautiful game, man. Peace, love, and blessings. Peace to the fam. I love you guys.